What's going on, motherfuckers? Welcome to the Crocs and Hot Pockets podcast. My name is Knackers, and today is Sunday, November 3rd, 2019, and this is episode number 109. Tonight, I have two very beautiful fellows with me, and they go by the name of... They go by the name ofs? Plural ofs?
We have one name because we're in a boy band.
Okay, right. The middle-aged Bishop. We have BishopGP and MiddleAgedStream on the podcast tonight. Bishop, how you doing today, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Enjoying the last seconds of my my weekend with you guys is exactly what I wanted to do.
You know, I'm gonna hold on, Jimmy. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing swell.
Okay. There is this entire Sunday where I wake up and like last night was up until 5 o'clock because of the time change, but 4 o'clock playing video games. And I woke up today and there's always like this time where it's very short where I say to myself, do I even like the podcast? Like I could just stop and then I wouldn't have to do it. And then I start preparing for it. And my mindset quickly shifts back into where it normally resides, where I love the podcast. I love doing it. But there's always like this time where it's like, it's Sunday afternoon and I know I need to sit down and start getting to work. And then like the other side of my brain's like, no, don't do it. Just stop. Just don't. You don't need to. The podcast isn't great. Just stop doing it. But that's just kind of like general content creator thinking is every once in a while, you just get super down on yourself or whatever you got. But then and then you get tired and then you push through tired and then you push through the 2 p.m. circadian rhythm downfall where you want to take a nap and you can't and you push through and then 8:45 comes around and I sit down and I crack open a nice cold beer and then I see your beautiful faces and I go, God damn, I love the podcast. I love fucking sitting down and talking.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah,
it's so full right now.
But that happens almost weekly, I would say. There's just like a small part of Sunday where I'm like, work. Because it is. I mean, it is a little bit of work and it's less work than it used to be. But it's still something that, I love doing. But it's good.
Do you get that way with other things in life? Like if someone's like, hey, let's do a movie on Friday. And then it comes around to Friday and you're like, fuck, I have plans tonight. Like I feel kind of.
Rarely. I would say rarely. I don't know. Maybe not so rare. Here's the thing. I don't make a lot of plans to go do things. There's only one set of friends that would probably hit me up and say, hey, do you want to go do something? I usually don't make plans unless I actually intend on going through and following through with it. So, there's some times where it's like, man, I really don't feel like going anywhere. And then you get there and you're like, I don't even know what I was talking about. I'm having a good time. All summer, we did so many things like all summer long through like music festivals and then like meat festivals and beer festivals and the vacations. And like, because I will go 2, 3, 4 weeks without doing anything social, when it's finally time to go and do that social thing, I'm usually pretty excited to go do it.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah. I think I've pretty much gotten nervous for every single one of the podcasts. Like, and it's not necessarily a nervous thing, but it's like, it's a requirement, it's like when I subscribe to doing something and I'm always the person that's like my whole life, I've been the person that's late to things and that, I always get cold feet. It doesn't matter what it was. Like, I remember back when, obviously like a date's one thing when you go out with a girl, but like, even when my buddies would ask me to do things, it's like the time in between like 2 hours out when I have a little bit of time to do something before I have to start getting ready. And then, an hour out where you actually have to start getting ready, I would literally just end up not doing anything because I was so stressed out about having to plan and like get ready. And
really?
Then, like, yeah. And I always just I put myself in a funk almost. And like, I just became, nowadays, I'm this kind of person where and I found this out recently through like, through creative projects and stuff like that, where I'm the person that doesn't like giving people bad news or like saying no to people, like depending on what it is. But if someone invites me to do something that I want to do, even remotely, I'll say yes to them, even if there's like 40% of me that doesn't want to do it. Right. And in this instance with the podcast, I just love doing it. It's not that I don't have that 40%, but I still get nervous planning for projects. But I don't know. I have to find like a self-help book that I can listen to while on the treadmill that's going to talk me out of about getting nervous, prior to things.
Listen, let me go into my Tony Robbins cellar and pull out my Tony Robbins 1996, 1997 self-affirmation textbooks, and I'll give you some love. You're right there, Jimbo? You had some cum in your stash?
I'm just interacting with the chat. That's all. While you two handsome guys are talking. Hey, you know how nervous I was about the podcast tonight? I was so nervous I forgot we even had a podcast. I was sitting in my recliner updating my Twitch schedule for the week, and then I looked at last week's, and it's like November 3rd podcast. I'm like, oh shit, we got a podcast tonight.
Were you nervous being on the podcast for the first time, Jimmy?
I think I was kind of nervous the very first time you had me on. It was one of the early shows you had me on for a 1v1.
Okay.
It was like back in like episode 20 something.
Way back.
A while back. And since then I might have been the first couple of times a little bit, just because you want to try and do a good job, and it takes a little practice. Even having experience streaming, that's just you're by yourself. You're not really talking to other people and interacting, and being able to. I feel like I had some of those skills of being able to talk and interact because of my job, but it's still not the same thing. So,
and the game is creating the content too. I mean, you have something else that is generating content that you are reacting to, and whereas a podcast, if you just stop, it gets real awkward, real fast.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I find that, like, I don't know, with the podcast, this is like the most fun I have when it comes to content creation. Like,
really,
besides animating stuff, just because when you become a content creator, and in most cases, like especially Twitch, everything is on your shoulders, right?
Yes.
Regardless of what you do. Like when it comes to animation projects, the stuff that I do for work, it's 100. Like I don't work with anyone. There's no one that's managing the schedule, managing like any sort of communication with the customer. It's just 100% me. So it's like there's a lot of stress and bearing that comes down on my shoulders, and that's probably something I just have to work through or hire someone to help me manage that. But I feel with the podcast, I'm just like, hey, all I have to do is show up. Like Knackers is doing all the work here. But not only that, I feel like when it comes down to it, like, my stream was built mostly off of either gaming related things or the fact that I have, pretty decent production like set up, whether it's design or just equipment that I use. But I find that this is like the platform for me in general where I have the most fun time talking about shit. You know what I mean? Because it's like with your Twitch chat, I feel like when, and not to take anything away from chat's intelligence, but I feel like when you're sitting and you're talking to chat about, world events or whatever it is, or things like someone leaving a certain platform and going somewhere else, people are like, all right, move on, get on to the fucking gaming, dude, play the game and shut the fuck up. Or they just want to talk about something with themselves. Right. And a lot of the time, people kind of just like they kind of they grab onto the idea of whenever you have a certain idea, people support you. And then there's one person in chat that will be like, well, I disagree or whatever. Right.
Right.
So I like the fact that, in my experience on the podcast, at least, and this is the only podcast that I've done. But I
never will do.
I'm exclusive. Yeah. Exclusive contract. It's the phase fucking contract all over again, but with Knackers podcast.
This is fucking bullshit.
I find with this podcast, like I've had an opinion in the past, and usually, streams, chat, they're circle jerking around you, or they're totally against you, right? Like it either goes one way or the other. But I feel like in the times that I've had a controversial opinion, even though it hasn't been that many times,
right?
Jimmy or Sam or whoever it is will be like, hey, this is why. Don't be a bitch, I like that about this.
I don't want to say any names because I don't know how public they are with this, but I just had somebody who was writing a paper for school, and they decided to interview me about just my Twitch and podcast and stuff. And we had a super, super long conversation. Most of it actually about the podcast and just talking about it. There's really so much that goes into it, but nowadays there's so little effort. I think one of the pros of the podcast being in the stage that it is in now, and the skill that I have acquired over doing this for such a long time, is that you get to a point where you get a better result by not working as hard. You know, the work smarter, not harder. So after this is now, I've now been podcasting for just about 5 years, between the podcast that I used to do for the GSN community and then 3.5 years with this podcast. And something that I've learned is that if you learn how to do a certain couple things, if you learn how to be supple with an LED ring around your cock, if you learn to be skilled in a certain key points of being a podcaster and being an interviewer, you can make some of the hardest parts of the podcast the easiest. And then you have to prepare less and less and less and less. And it makes for a good time when we're sitting down. And I just remember telling said person, like, the podcast is one of the greatest things because it gives me an opportunity to sit down with people that I respect and that can, disagree with on certain things and not have a cock swinging fight. And how often do you get to just sit down and talk about the things that you're passionate about for 2 to 3 hours every week? Right. Yeah, it's a great slice of my weekend.
Yeah. Well, I feel like too, there's probably 100 things that I could hit you up about all week long that, hey, like, here's an idea, whatever, right? Like, relative to streaming, like things that you'd be interested in. And there's probably just as many with Jimmy that, we share these common interests through streaming that I'd want to talk about. And it's like, it's cool to have a place and a time that's scheduled to do that, right? Like, this entire week, this is the first time, like every other time I've been on the podcast. And I think this is like my 5th time or 4th time. I've already stopped counting. My hand, single digit numbers.
Yeah, can you even oh wait, no, we have long arms, not short arms. I was gonna say, can you even see your hands when you're counting?
It's gotta be hard, man. Your arms are 12 feet long.
Yeah. It's I don't know, it's interesting because it's like having the platform to talk about, these certain interesting things with you, because I could get on a Discord call with everybody that shares my common interest in technology and in streaming, and have the exact same conversation with them every single night, right? And where I was getting at with the amount of times that I was on the podcast is Knackers, previous to the podcast starting, he sends out a little Google Doc that basically you can fill out some questions and ideas. And this was the first week that, I think it was like Monday or Tuesday, I was like, hey, Knackers. Like, as soon as I knew that I was on the show, I was like, hey, put the Google spreadsheet together, the Google Doc together, and send that shit to me. Because like, there's been some topics over the past few weeks with relative to streaming, and I was like, I want to fill this shit out, because usually like I blow Casey's fucking eardrums off by talking to her about streaming and about the business behind it, and then about the hours that you're investing and how to capitalize on that. And I feel like it's like, for the time that I spend, if Casey and I have a time to talk to each other outside of work or whatever, it's always like me wanting to communicate the things that I've learned. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh yeah.
So, cool. What's cool is like the podcast and podcasts in general. Now that I've had the opportunity that Knackers gave me to be on this, obviously, is actually Jimmy. Jimmy was like, hey, Knackers, put Elliot on because,
he's good looking.
And yeah, he's good looking. He's good for the eyebrow view count. But ever since I'm just trying to get a spit take out of Knackers with all these stupid jokes. But ever since I've been on, I feel like, my opinion on podcasts, like I would have never done one unless someone asked me to do it. But I feel like everyone that's streaming should find an interest. Like, and this is just with streaming in general. Like, what are you going to stream if you start streaming, right?
Right.
You're either going to do something gaming, you're going to do Dungeons and Dragons. It's easiest to stream when you find something that you're passionate about, right? Because you can talk about it forever. But podcasts allow you to like get together with a group of people and also share those, it allows you to create content without having any desire to have any return from that content. Like, I just want to find people to sit and talk with and hang out. And then it also takes that pressure off my shoulders. So the amount of time spent creating content, like this week, I've spent 0 minutes creating any content that faces the public. Like, I haven't been streaming. I haven't been anywhere else. But to have a time in a day, it's kind of like soccer practice. Like, I have to go to soccer practice and I'm going to get better at soccer. And that's what this podcast is. Because it's like, I'm streaming people that like want to see me. This is an opportunity for them to do that, to hang out and ask questions and do stuff like that if they're interested in this type of stuff. So my suggestion is if you are a streamer, find a podcast. Like, even if you try it and you're like, okay, the people on this show are fucking idiots. Like, if you have an opportunity to sit and talk to people, you'll find what you like about certain people in different communities, and ultimately you'll expand your horizons.
Get smarter.
I've been on 2 other podcasts, just one time each. I mean, it was a while back, a couple years ago. Maybe this was like 2 years ago. Might have even been longer than that. I was on a podcast with a few other streamers. It was the
Redacted.
I can't remember the name of it.
Redacted.
I'm trying to remember it was on the Geek Generation. He did this thing called the Wheel of Geek Gen, where the people play Wheel of Fortune, and he's the one who's like the host and makes the puzzles and stuff like that. And it's like video game trivia and shit like that. Or it's like the puzzle things, and it was fun. It was actually a real good time. And then the other one I was on Wally's podcast.
Oh yeah, I watched that one.
Also. Yeah. And I wish he would do more. I think that they got a good thing going over there.
Did they stop?
I guess I haven't seen one in a while.
The fuck?
I feel bad because Wally, like I get these projects where I disappear for a couple of weeks where I need to just work on animation projects, because it's kind of like when I'm working, I'm sitting at my computer. And when I'm streaming, I'm sitting at my computer. And when I'm playing games, I'm sitting at my computer. So I find myself when I'm working hard on an animation project, I'm all in one place for the entire day. And then the day ends and I stand up, I'm like, holy fuck, I'm exhausted.
Yep.
And I was working on a project during the phase, and Wally and Howie, love both of those guys, by the way. They asked me to be on their podcast. You talked about this last week, I think, with Reanimator. But you talked about how sometimes you just kind of have to throw out a hook, and ask people if they want to be on the podcast or a part of your content. And if they, if they don't get back to you, or if they say no, or in that immediate moment, it isn't a permanent no, right? So like Howie, if you're listening, first of all, go fuck yourself. But second of all, if you have a podcast coming up, if you'll have me, I'll hop on that.
There you go. Jimmy, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Shiner Oktoberfest, and I'm pretty sure they're not selling it in stores anymore. So I'm trying to get my last bit of it in.
Did you say Shriner Oktoberfest?
Shiner Oktoberfest. So going easy tonight. I was at a beer festival last night. It was great, but I definitely was feeling a little hazy today.
Same.
I was a little hazy. I was a little rough this morning. Had to power through it because I had to go to work, and just pop some Excedrin, drank some water and a Coke or two to get some. I don't know about you guys, but anytime I've got any sort of mild hangover, I feel like the best recipe or best cure for me, besides Excedrin and a little bit of water, is like a carbonated drink and some greasy ass fried chicken. Like if I eat that, I'm good. Get about an hour later, totally healed. Not totally healed, but feeling way better.
Better.
So I had that today at work. I had fried chicken that I got, and a nice soda pop, and it was good. It was good. I was feeling much better after that.
Soda? The fuck?
Nice little soda
Coke.
hat.
A Coke. But I mean, I'm from the South. We call everything Coke, even if it's not a Coke.
I guess so.
I was trying to be more, I don't know, worldly with you other chaps.
I guess I cannot remember the last time that I was hungover. I really can't. And
if you can sleep it off, it's great. I didn't really start. I think I got hungover when I was younger, but I think I really started to notice it as I got older. One, because you get older and your body's just not as good at getting through it. The other thing is you have those responsibilities where you have to wake up. You can't just sleep it off. You know what I mean? I can't sleep till 2 p.m. So, I'm not saying that you don't have, but when you have like a kid, and you can't just
fuck that.
Daddy, wake up! Shut up! You know what I mean? You can't do that. You can't do that.
That's fair. I think one of my go-to hangovers is Jimmy John's. Something about Jimmy John's always kind of makes me feel better. A good chicken and waffle, like eggs Benny, is probably another go-to that cheers me right up.
See, I have to stay away. If I'm hungover bad, eggs just make me.
Really?
I can't, if I have a bad hangover, I can't do eggs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just makes me. Ugh. I mean, I can, but then they're gonna end up in your backyard
Again.
Someone's gonna be eating them. A dog's gonna eat them up.
Bishop, what are you drinking tonight?
I am. We got these a couple weeks ago. We're in Portland, so I'm drinking a hard kombucha from San Diego. Oh fuck. Okay, it's a June Shine honey, ginger, and lemon. It's actually pretty good. I tried kombucha for the first time that was non-alcoholic a few weeks ago. I think it was the day that I was on the podcast.
Yep.
And I said that it tasted like fermented asshole. I think that's how I described it.
I do remember this.
Stuck to the word, yeah. We stuck to the word fermented, but this is actually really fucking good. This little June Shine. I don't know if you guys can see that. Ginger, lemon, green tea, honey, and kombucha. It's actually good.
I swear, June Shine wasn't Ruby drinking that?
Yeah. So the day that
yeah.
This is kind of
I think she was drinking that when she was on.
Yeah. We had a few cans of it, and prior to the podcast,
fuck did I remember that? I think it's because
you're just
the
a
name.
Gamer, man. Yeah, it's that and lychee. The two things that we bring to this podcast, Casey and I. Lychee conversations and June Shine.
Do you have a beer memory, Jimmy? Well, when you start drinking at the same time on the same day, it starts coming back to you from the previous week or previous 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
So first it was hard seltzer, now it's hard fucking kombucha, more like it. Kombucha's not bad. I enjoy it.
You know, I'm not a kombucha guy. I can admit. The last one I had was really bad. Ended up in the trash. But I haven't been much of a drinker. I've never really when I was a kid prior to being 21, I never really drank. There's a few events, obviously. Report me to the police, I dare you. But there's a few times that I drank, and I don't know. I just wasn't super into it. So I ended up, as soon as I turned 21, I had a really good job when I was just turned 21. I was making decent amount of money for that age. So I felt that I was a multi-billionaire, how kids, you get a paycheck, you get a salary, and I was on salary and I had all of the great stuff. And I started going out, and me and my roommate at the time, we lived in the club district of town, and we would go out all the time and get tables and be jackasses. And I feel like I've been hungover quite a few times. But Jimmy was talking about his, the way that he got rid of his hangover. And the way that I would do it is I would literally go on the way home while walking home. We'd get Powerades or Gatorades, chug those, and then grab pizza and literally eat as much pizza as we could until we were completely full and couldn't eat anymore. And then we would just walk home, and I'd be totally fine the next day. Always.
Here's another pro tip if you want to avoid a hangover the next day, and this only applies if you're able to do it. But if you want to avoid a hangover, another thing you can do is before you drink, eat red meat like steak, or even you can do with burgers too. But something about the enzymes in that red meat helps break down the alcohol a little bit more, so it doesn't leave. So. Yeah, if you do that, especially steak, I've noticed that if I have a steak and I could drink a lot after that and end up never really having a bad hangover. I'd still have a mild one, but
Interesting. Speaking of red meat, I just picked up a fat hunk of pork shoulder to make some. We're gonna do some slow cooker pulled pork. I want to do some pulled pork sandwiches. And then we're also going to do Weenie's currently on this barbecue pulled pork mac and cheese train. And so we're going to get into that. If anybody has any dope coleslaw recipes, please send my way. I'm looking to try many. I prefer more sugary coleslaw than acidic, vinegary coleslaw, but I'm willing to try anything. So if you guys have a coleslaw recipe you like, please send it my way. Mainly for a pulled pork sandwich, if you will.
I know a guy that has a coleslaw podcast, and I can get you some solid recommendations. But you never know; it could be like this podcast. Where
Wait, are you serious?
It's a coleslaw podcast, and then they talk about things that aren't coleslaw related. Where it's we've probably never said anything decent about Hot Pockets on this podcast. I think
we've said plenty.
We were shaming it. We were shaming them, though. We were talking.
We were shaming them except for the ham and cheese.
Yes, the only shaming that was happening was Katie Peters saying that she only eats vegetarian Hot Pockets.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sorry, Katie. I'm sorry.
She's not coming back now. She's gonna hear that. She's never gonna come back.
She was never coming back anyways.
Yeah.
She does want to come back.
After you're grilling her about not playing
now
this
she's
fucking
not. If she
Space
ever
War
hears
game
this,
with
she's gonna be like, well, fuck those guys.
Oh man,
They're sorry. He's sorry.
Yeah, we're totally kidding. Totally fucking kidding.
I have nothing to be sorry for. I wanted you back.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
The nicest lady ever, just getting shit on by 3 dudes. I'm so sorry.
She is nice.
I feel like that's an
Anywho,
important title.
I had a
Probably could be.
had a Miller. No. Oh my god, excuse me for confusing, but I was drinking a Molson, not a Miller.
Oh, how's it going there, bud?
Hey, bud.
Hey there.
Uh,
Hey there.
I have graduated to the Vanilla Java Porter by Atwater. It's a Detroit brewery. This is one of my all-time. It's such a light porter. And it just has the ever so slight taste of Java, or Java, as I like to say. And it's definitely one of my all-time favorite beers for sure.
It's a good one.
What the fuck have we been playing lately, video game wise? I know, Bishop, you're probably just like balls deep in all of the WoW. Has there any other gaming been happening in your life?
So after WoW Classic got released, I kind of just dedicated like a week and a half to it and only played that. But actually, I swapped over to a game because of my buddy Tony Shushoni on Twitch. He was playing this game called Hell Let Loose.
How Italian is he?
He is super Italian.
Oh my god, that name.
His name was, prior to it, to switching, his name was Roids, and he's like a bodybuilder guy, and I thought that was the greatest name, and he rebranded. And I was like, fuck. So unfortunate. It's a great name. But I feel like Roids was the play. He like owns a supplement company and a bunch of shit, so he had to change it because he didn't want to be known as.
Yeah, that's probably not. I mean, it's on brand, but not brand friendly when it comes to working with companies.
Yeah. So he suggested this game, and he's always suggesting games to me, but he suggested this game called Hell Let Loose, and there was a free to play weekend. He was bugging me to play it for like 2-3 weeks, and I finally was like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna play it. And it's what it is it's a World War II simulator game. It's a little less like Arma on the simulator end, so it's fun to play. It's kind of like Battlefield, but very specific to just strategy and playing on a massive map. And it's the most fun shooter that I've played in a really long time. Basically, you have your little squads. There's a commander. It's like the Red Orchestra games. I would say it's a little bit better than the Red Orchestra games, but ultimately you have these squads of like 7 people. And then there's on a team, there's 50 players. They're broken up into squads of 6 or 7 people. And then there's a commander. So the commander talks to the squad leaders, and they organize what all of the units do. So basically, a commander tells the units to move around, and it's very strategic. You have to set up outposts and places to spawn, and then the enemy team has to either defend or they have to knock out your spawn points. It's really, 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 really badass. So I've been playing that. I played that a lot for the past like couple weeks, but now I'm back in playing WoW. I love WoW. It's just a very casual, fun game to play, and with Classic, there's not a ton of content, but it's just a fun thing that Casey's also kind of into. I got her into that. So, we've been kind of hopping back and forth because we don't have a lot of games that we play that are similar. So it gives us something interesting. And she actually has spent less time leveling than she has like working on the auction house in WoW and like finding things that she can make money on. I'm like, oh my God, it's like the young Steve Jobs of fucking Taylor.
Getting in there. Wow.
Yeah. So those are my games.
Okay. How about you, Jimbo?
Finished up Spooktober last month. I made it all the way through Dead Space, which was a lot of fun. I wasn't actually anticipating that having as much fun with that game as I ended up having. It was a really good game.
It's a great fucking game.
It was so good. I want to play the sequels later on down the road. So, and then I played through Until Dawn. It was my second playthrough of that game. I played it when it came out over 4 years ago, and I mostly forgotten everything because it had been so long since I'd played it. And I think only all but 2 people survived on my playthrough.
Please tell me you killed Emily.
Bad. No, everybody wanted me to, but I actually, the only reason I didn't was because of chat. Like everybody was forcefully telling me, how you get as a streamer, like everybody was forcefully like wanting me to kill Emily. So I spitefully did not. Yeah. You
have the power to do so why not?
Yeah. So I was like, I nope, sorry, chat. You guys can go fuck yourselves. And then I started, and this was it was a subscriber goal reward of playing Bloodborne, and oh my god, so bad. I played it like 3 times before, and we started playing it. I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to beat it, man. Like I'm. This is my second stream of it now for this new playthrough, and I'm struggling hard already. I mean, it's just so, man. Like I'm gonna keep it up. I'm gonna give it at least a few more. You know, I'm gonna give it, you know, at least 4 or 5 before I say I just can't. But I think this game may get the better of me, man. I just don't think I have. I think if I was playing it, not streaming it, I think maybe. But playing a really difficult game that at least very difficult to me, and I know for a lot of other people too, while streaming, like that's something that requires so much on reflexes, timing, and knowledge of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like I just don't think I'm gonna be able to. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm selling myself short, but it's not looking good.
It's man, those games are like I'm in the middle. I don't know if I actually want to play Fortnite or if I'm just playing Fortnite to further delay going back and playing Dark Souls 2.
I totally understand.
It's hard, man. It's a very specific type of game that pertains to a very niche group of gamers.
Well, and I am enjoying it. It's just, but at the same time, because it's such a cool atmosphere, the graphics and sound and everything is really cool about it. It's so hard, you know, and it's to me. I know some people be like, "Oh, I could beat it in my sleep." You know, people speed run it and shit. But those people are fucking crazy. Okay, but I think to the average person, the Soulsborne games are extremely difficult to play, and I think even more difficult to stream if you're trying to be interactive at all. You know.
Playing a From Software game as somebody who doesn't enjoy that type of game is like having 2 hours of teasing foreplay, no sex. It's just tease for hours and then, all right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Well, it's kind of what happened with me with Sekiro too. Like I finally got to a point of the game where I just got stuck and I just kept dying in the same spot like 100 times. And I couldn't do it anymore. You know, like when you die that many times to the same guy over and over, I was just like, I wanted to play something else.
Right.
So it's not that the game's bad. It's just my skill level is only so much. And there's a reason why a lot of story games too, I play at the hardest. It might be normal. Some story games I'll play on like the easier difficulty so I can make it through, enjoy the story. And, you know, my time to play games is limited. And I know I'm not the only one in that boat. I know it's the same for you guys. I imagine I don't do barely any gaming off stream. Like my video game time is my stream time. So if I'm not getting enjoyment out of that, or not just is the enjoyment, if I'm find myself in a rut where I'm getting frustrated over and over, then I have a tendency to switch games. So
yeah,
I'm gonna try, but. I also know that and I was going to bring it up later. There's a game coming out this month that I want to buy and get. So that kind of throws a kink in
everything
anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me, man.
Okay.
And off stream, I've been playing. I was saying how I don't play games off stream. That's kind of a lie because I do play rounds of Tetris 99 in my bed.
Fair.
So
have you ever? So I feel sometimes like you're talking about how you don't play games off stream and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I actually got an update on my phone about, you know, and I'll preface this with, I feel like I don't spend any time on Instagram, right? Like people say, like, if someone asked me how much time I spend on social media, I'd be like, oh, none. Like I barely spend any time on Instagram. Like I almost never check it, right? Like if someone's like, hey, where can I follow you? I'd be like, hey, you know, I used to use Instagram a bunch, but I haven't posted there in a really long time, blah, blah, blah. I got or received a statistic that said that I per week, which is, it's not a lot, but I was on Instagram for 6 hours per week. And then I was like, holy shit, like that's way more than I expected. In case he's like, you were shitting.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's a lot of shit time for a week. I mean, not a lot, but that's shit time.
Yeah, she knows when I'm on Instagram because she receives like DMs through Instagram when I send her posts, and it's always when I'm in the bathroom. So hey, 6 hours of shit time.
I'm pretty sure that is about the only time I use Instagram. Also, is if I'm in the bathroom.
Yeah. Whatever happened
is-
to Instagram? It used to be a great place, and now it's just your shit place. You know.
I use Instagram a lot. I love Instagram.
I like the platform, but
Yeah.
that's the only time I ever remember to check it is when I'm in the bathroom.
I wonder if gaming is similar. Like maybe I feel like I don't play a lot of games, but in hindsight and in reality, I'm playing games all the fucking time.
Do you not want to admit that you use Instagram? Is that it?
No, I don't know if it's that or if it's just that I don't spend a lot of time, or I feel like I don't spend a lot of time there. But I guess at the end of the day, if I'm shitting for 6 hours a day, that's, it's only on average close to an hour a day. Like,
did you say 6 hours a day? I think you said
6 hours a week. 6 hours a week. So
that is shit.
Lots of shit for 6 hours a month or a day. But yeah,
I am way more like I would love the statistic that I am interested in is how much time I spend going through stories compared to going through posts, like actually scrolling down my timeline. I look through stories way, way more. And I don't know if that's the same for other people as well, but I don't know. Instagram is still so like it's such a perfect blend of everyday shenanigans and art. And it's like it's those two, like art, cooking, and shenanigans. It's like that's what Instagram is for me, and I really, really, really enjoy that platform. It's like Paul said in chat, it's so much more positive of a platform than all of the other ones. You just go there to have a good time,
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I use it is I follow people like friends, former students, stuff like that. And you just see some cool picture. It's a picture. It's a short post. You generally don't see people bitching about stuff on Instagram. You don't see the political posts and stuff like that. You just usually, after I finish looking at something on Instagram, usually give you a warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah.
Instead of some of the shit that you can see on the cesspool that sometimes Twitter can be, or pretty much any other social media site. So, which I love Twitter. I spend more time on that social media platform. Well, is Reddit considered a social media platform?
100%. Yeah.
100%. I consider it more of like an aggregation. I mean, yes, I know it's social media there.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of news because it's a data aggregator. So I kind of use it more for that. Although I will say this, one of my favorite things about Reddit is going through the comment section of popular posts.
Yes. Oh my God, what a shit show.
It is hilarious. So sometimes the comments are better than the content itself. In fact, a lot of time it is.
Yeah.
So I have, it is no secret that I have dedicated my life to Fortnite as of recently. Currently 6 days in, no wins, plenty of great kills. But as far as getting wins in that game, I just hit level 30 and I am currently playing with professionals. Like every round, I can't even survive getting out of the town that I spawn into. And
oh my gosh,
I am.
Unfortunate.
It really is. I don't know if this is how it is when you get to level 30, or if the game just said, "Oh, you're better than the average person. We should probably put you against. We should probably put you against better people." And so, you guys aren't going to be able to hear what I'm saying. Are
you guys getting Robotty in the chat in the channel?
No, I don't. Everything's totally
I'm not
fine.
getting anything from Neckers right now.
I can't hear anything. It switched microphones on you.
Yeah,
it's using a different
it's
mic.
like your microphone's not.
Hello.
Wait, say something. Say something.
Hi.
It's like there it is.
Yeah.
What?
I unplugged it.
Oh,
Okay.
Is it back? Is it back to this microphone?
It's better now, yeah,
Okay.
because it was doing that weird shit.
Okay.
Is that because
I-
your Scarlet
I had
or
to
whatever thing?
yeah. I had to disconnect because it was getting all Robotty, and then that's why I did that and came back.
Oh, that's me. Don't ever buy a Focusrite Scarlet Solo. They're poopy. They're poop dick. What the hell were we talking about? Fortnite. Yeah.
Yes.
So I saw a statistic the other day. There was a lot of backlash with Fortnite, and this is relative to what you were talking about with your pathetic inability to win a game. This is relative to that. So there was a statistic that said that 89% of the player base in Fortnite hasn't won a game.
Wow.
I've never won a game.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know how accurate that was. I'm pretty sure it was a Kotaku article.
Kotaku.
It was
Kotaku.
a katako. Is that like
Yeah.
a taco with katanas?
Yeah, with katanas on it. It's a
So there's another thing that was saying that the players that are winning one for every, I believe it was either 4 or either 7 games that they play on average. So that's why they put some bots in there. But I guess that they're adding in features with in Fortnite to make it more like through, obviously through through AI and through bots and things like that, and through matchmaking, they're making it easier for the average player to win games, because apparently that's a deterrent for a lot of people. If they play 100 games, they don't win one, which, you're in that potential category.
I consider myself, people who have been watching me play Fortnite, you guys have seen that I have the potential to carry myself. I can do okay. There was
you got
one
that sniper skill, boy.
Dude, I got pretty fucking good sniper, dude. I have the ability to carry myself very, very well. And there's times where I'll get 3 sniper headshots in a row, and I will go through a town and take out 3 to 4 people. And then you just meet one person who just Empire State Building, and they're just so fucking good. So the fact that, I can go 30-5 or 30-10 playing Battlefield 4 with no ranked matchmaking, and then I can come over to Fortnite and I can go from my very first day with playing with a bunch of noobs, and then only 5 or 6 days later to not even being able to get out of the town that I spawned into. It's like, okay, I've only been playing for 20 hours, 25 hours, and I'm already into this new skill bracket where everybody's a fucking professional. It's like, it's kind of infuriating. But it's at the same time, anybody's just gonna say, well, get good. Well, I don't think I'm bad. I make some stupid decisions sometimes, but the fact that I can't even get close to end game of only just a couple days of playing, it's a little disheartening.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I feel like, from me watching you play Fortnite, and this is coming from someone that used to be good at it, the thing that I've noticed that you do is that you expend your materials way too much, right? End game, you get really close to end game and you take a fight. There's a time I think you got top 4 that I was watching. The game that I put $20 on. But it seems like you tend to expend your materials, which is something that you learn over time. You farm all that shit up, but you can blow through them in 5 seconds. I used to run into that problem all the time. Someone starts gunning you, and then all of a sudden you're building, an Empire State Building. But if you're not efficient about what you're building, you're eventually just completely out of materials. That's what I've seen with you. But I know specifically, with the game in general, I couldn't imagine a world where a free-to-play game doesn't have people that are taking advantage of a matchmaking system. So I don't know specifically with Fortnite. I haven't looked at it at all. I don't know what their matchmaking algorithm looks like for new accounts, and whether or not, since you just joined, you're getting pitted. You put let's say you put, just for numbers' sake, you put 30 hours into the game. If someone that's a pro wants to just win a bunch of games, or they're in a bracket where they're just getting shit on completely, there's nothing to prevent them from creating a Smurf and then coming in. That's what you're running into now, right?
Right.
Because in general, I didn't watch, and I don't really know the map rotations and things like that. But if you're not even able to get out of a town, is it because the average player in that lobby is just better than you, or is it because you're dropping in a spot that through the chances of RNG, you're dropping there with the player that's has the highest potential to win the game? Right. So you're getting killed by the match winner at the end of the day. Right.
I mean, I think chat could back me up in saying I chose every place. I don't have set places. I look and see what's kind of near the bus. And then because it's otherwise, if you don't drop in a populated area, you go off to some fucking haunted house, and then you loot for 10 minutes and you're running, and then you meet one person because you're at end game, and then you're fucking dead. And that is way less fun than spawning, dying, and then trying to do it over again.
Right. I don't know. I feel like as a deterrent for a lot of people that are going to play Fortnite, the fact that you have to work in the game, like you have to do the process of gaining or obtaining materials through breaking shit down, that becomes exhausting if you lose as soon as you run into someone, right? Like you just went through that entire process and then you got fucked. The thing that I would compare it to in WoW is, there's basically buffs that you get from items. So there's benefits that you receive from items. And there's this big raid right now in WoW Classic, which is Onyxia, which is just this big one boss that it's so easy for people that are gamers to beat. It's just that like it's a one trick pony and you can basically go and wipe it. But because the zone that this boss is located in is a PvP zone, what we do is, like as a guild, is we go in and we wipe everyone in front of the dungeon that's Horde or on the other faction, so they lose their buffs. So they waste like hundreds of gold on this instead of just walking in and getting an easy boss kill. We're just griefing them and removing their ability to win, right? But I don't know what's going to prevent players that have like if I played like 20-30 games of and I was in your shoes, if I played 20-30 games of Fortnite because it's the craze, when regularly I can do well in a game like Call of Duty or an FPS or something like that along those lines, and I'm constantly losing, but I have to work. Like there's a lot of front end work that you have to do in the match of Fortnite match. You have to gain all these materials. What is going to prevent people from leaving those games, right? And potentially just leaving Fortnite in the past because they can't win a match, right? And I feel like their matchmaking system, I haven't played, so I don't know, but and I haven't looked at it in the back end, but there's nothing, especially with a free to play game, that's going to prevent you from running into Smurfs, right? And getting completely shit on every single match, even if it's based on, the performance per game, like kill death ratio, or I don't know necessarily know, or if it's based on the level of your account. I feel like Fortnite's a tough game to win just in general, but it requires, I think BRs in general require a certain set of skills and just it's almost intuition of map rotations, knowing where to go to stay safe. Like I proved this a long time. I did a 24-hour stream once, and I was playing Fortnite the entire time. And I was playing with a buddy, and we were not picking up guns. We were just going to win the match. And we won like 3 or 4 games without having to kill anyone, without having to do anything at all, just gaining materials and hiding. So there's part of the game. Like I feel like you as an FPS shooter game player, like Battlefield player, you can find success. Like you're really good at sniping, for instance, right? You can find success in killing and beating people in gunfights, but that isn't what leads to winning in Fortnite.
Right.
It doesn't require you to be good at shooting, right? It requires different skills and different talents and intuition of how things happen. And a lot of the time it requires you to just be patient and not do anything. Don't reveal yourself. Don't reveal your position. And maybe that's the challenge. Maybe we have to do a coaching session. And maybe I need
a Fortnite coach. So yeah, I really don't know. And to your point, just because I was curious, and maybe I thought about like what would happen if I were to just get a new account and play. Yeah. And there are YouTube tutorials everywhere of how to use this website to generate a temporary email so that you can create a brand new account and start smurfing immediately. So that is 100% all over the Fortnite community.
100%. Okay.
Yeah. Other than Fortnite, like I said, I've been enjoying it. I really just want to fucking win a game. And the fact that I haven't been able to in 20-30 hours is infuriating. Last night, myself, Matt Weenie, and Mr. Vansman played a game called Secret Neighbor, which is the multiplayer version of Hello Neighbor. Holy fuck, was it fun. It was such a good time. There's only like 30 people playing that game online right now. It is basically Dead by Daylight prop hunt put together, where there's 6 people. Nobody actually, it's less like it, because there's 6 people who spawn into a map, and one of you is the neighbor, and you have the ability to transform into the neighbor and transform back into a child. And you basically have to capture all of the children without anybody knowing that you are the neighbor. It's a really, really fun game, and I think we played for probably 3 hours last night. And super, super fun. So if you guys haven't gotten a chance, actually, I don't know if it's playable right now because Weenie has beta keys. I don't know if it's open to the public. I don't know now.
Might be a Discord thing where you just have to go in their Discord and request keys.
Something like that. Yeah, she got a good amount of keys, but
so here's a question. So like Dead by Daylight, that game, Prop Hunt, all of those kind of like hide and seek type of games. I know that there's a bunch of them. There's a few like Hello Neighbor that popped up, and I find this with games for me just because I have a competitive tendency with gaming. But do you ever find with those certain games like Prop Hunt? I used to love it, right? But then the meta, you start to understand the meta and what you have to do to win, and understanding that ruins the game for you because you're no longer having fun, but you're just trying to win.
It's
like, do you
boring
guys
as
end up
fuck to me.
Yeah.
Prop
Do you guys
Hunt
end up
now.
having that happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
You ever play Prop Hunt, Jimmy?
Nope.
Okay. It's basically
I haven't really played any of those hide and seek type games. Like I enjoy watching them sometimes, but I don't know. They just haven't ever really. I never thought to myself, man, I really want to play this. You know what I mean?
that's how I felt going into Secret Neighbor. So super quick. 6 children and there are 8 different classes. You pick a class, you spawn into this house. There are key cards which open doors. So you have to find the key cards, and then you have to, once you get through the key card doors, you have to find keys. There are 3 different color keys that unlock a basement door. So as the 5 kids are trying to find keys to unlock this door, the neighbor is trying to pick off these kids one by one. And so It's way less of a hide and seek game, of more of find the thing to unlock the door. Everybody has their own abilities. You can throw objects at the neighbor to keep them away from you. And it's super interesting spin. And it was a lot of fun. So I personally recommend it.
Okay. All right.
Have you played? There's one called Deep something, and it's a shark game. So it's like very similar to that. That game has a terrible like the player base is minimal, right? It's like 0 people play it. I think it's called Depth.
That game's fun as hell.
It's called Deep Holes.
Deep holes with shark fishes and deep holes.
But I feel like that game was
Google
amazing.
that and turn the safe search off.
Yeah. I feel like those type of games, like, and I was just mentioning this, like, I love those games they're exhilarating when the thing's right behind you. You know, those dreams where you're trying to run to a hiding spot and the thing sees you and then you're just like freeze up. You're like, oh, fuck. I love those games to death, but as soon as I learned the meta, it's terrible. Like, it just ruins the game. And then I realized who else is just playing for the meta, and it's no longer, I feel like that's why those games have such a short shelf life, is because the meta overtakes the entertainment of being chased by someone, right?
And Depth is pay to win.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, nothing like that in Secret Neighbor at this time.
Yeah.
It's all just skills that are baked into classes. And it seems pretty balanced to me. Like when I was playing Depth with the super tryhards, you will lose 14 games in a row to a shark who knows what the fuck they're doing. Whereas Depth, it was very even between the kids and the neighbors winning.
Yeah, I noticed. I streamed Depth once with Casey, and we had a few people from the community come in and play it with us. But there's one guy that is like the top ranked guy in the game, and he just sits and he's queuing the whole time. Like, he's queuing all day long, but it takes so long because the player base is so little.
Yeah,
it takes like 3 or 4 hours for this guy to get in a game. But we played against him a few times, and it's like you can't beat him because he's so fucking good at it, and it's because he has every skin, every
power up
ability, and every power up. But it's interesting, games like that. I feel like that's a big piece of why they end up dying, is because people ruin the game by getting too good at them. And it's the same story for Fortnite. Fortnite just has different things that you have to obtain, like you have to do, right? You have like,
drop to tickly panties and collect 4 goobly stamps,
like there's like little tasks that you have to go through and do.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of those games end up dying at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's hard to maintain those, especially if the development company doesn't really care.
Yeah.
Well, all of the talking points that we have tonight on the podcast were put in by Bishop. He just came through and was like, you know what? I'm gonna supply this show with some topics. So the floor is yours, Bishop. If you're comfortable, you are more than welcome to run on through these topics. And
I'm gonna let you finish, but actually I'm not. I'm gonna cut you off. Since you have so many, I want to just get to mine first because it's really quick.
I'm with you. Yeah,
I'm gonna pee really quick because Star Wars sucks. So.
Yeah. You know what? You just ruined my fucking hype, man.
I'm sorry.
You fucking. Anyway, so in case you didn't know, I'm a Star Wars whore. And I think I mentioned this before, but one of the few games I'm actually looking forward to is coming out in less than 2 weeks now. Star Wars, is it Jedi Fallen Order is what it's called, right? Something like that. Star Wars Jedi Fallen. I don't know. It's a Star Wars game, so I'll be purchasing it. It's supposed to be really good. I know what you're thinking. It's made by Electronic Arts. Electronic Arts can suck a dick. However, you know what? The gameplay looked cool. Everything about it looked pretty freaking sweet. I'm hoping that it's going to be good. I hope that it doesn't suck. I've been wanting to play a good single player Star Wars game for so long. It feels like there hasn't been a good single player Star Wars game in years, man.
Do you remember the there was a Star Wars game that was a MMORPG. Do you remember what it was called?
Mm-hmm. Star Wars Galaxies?
I think so.
Yeah.
So
that was the one that came out before. That was actually the only MMO I tried both the Star Wars MMOs, but I actually had fun playing that MMO.
Yeah.
In fact, so much so that it scared me away from playing MMOs.
Really? Yeah, they're super addicting. I remember you brought that up and it made me like a memory ticked in my mind. So the original so the first few games that I started playing on PC, one of them was CS:GO, but predating that was Age of Empires. Obviously, everyone played Age of Empires too. My dad got me into gaming through Age of Empires. But the Knights of the or WoW and Knights of whatever, it's Star Wars Galaxy, this MMORPG, and I remember my dad brought back a copy of it. Right, he had bought it from the store, and I really wanted to play it. I've always been into Star Wars, not so much in my later years. I think it's just because I haven't followed up with things. I know that right now is a really good time to be a Star Wars fan. But I haven't really seen the last few movies. I haven't really focused on them, so that's my own.
Whoa!
I haven't seen any of the newer movies. I think the first one the first one of the newer movies that it came out, is it Rogue One or some bullshit like that? I watched that one.
Some bullshit like that.
It was good, but I didn't watch the other ones. I didn't really invest a ton of time in them, and I feel like I need to like. Every December, Casey and I, well, it's not every December, but my family's thing that I'm kind of forcing on Casey is that we watch all of the Lord of the Rings movies. So maybe I need to do a thing like that with Star Wars where I go back and watch it. But
you should.
To go back to what I was saying, I remember my dad brought back a copy of this Star Wars MMO game. And night one, he came home, we installed it on the computer. I put in his email and put in my password, used the CD key, if you guys remember those from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Put my CD key in, which is crazy that's already something that's no longer, necessarily needed. But I remember I put the code in and I played it the night one. Next morning, woke up, couldn't remember the password. And never, ever, ever played the game ever again.
Oh,
and my dad
my
had a
God.
subscription and everything. And I was too afraid to tell him that I forgot what the password was because I thought he could never recover it. That I never told him. He ended up spending, he ended up keeping the subscription for like 2 or 3 months. And then one day he's like, "Hey, do you still play that?" I was like, "Oh, no, I stopped playing it a little while ago," not telling him that I actually forgot his password. So I never played the game.
Oh, that's fucking funny.
Yeah. Oh, another subject, and you guys can talk about this while I go to the bathroom. That I didn't write down. I just remembered it because you brought it up, Jimmy. So thank you, Jimmy. You're the best.
No, thank you son of a bitch. Non-watch.
Fuck you.
Star Wars
Thank you,
motherfucker.
But EA is coming back to Steam.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah, I read that. In
Half.
fact,
Okay,
I
talk.
have. Okay, so I actually pay for that EA Access on console.
Same.
Because it's a pretty good value, and honestly, if you buy at least 1 or 2 EA games a year, it more or less kind of pays for itself. So, but I guess now you can play like EA Access games on Steam.
Yes, but you still require the Origin launcher in order to launch the game. So you can purchase EA titles through Steam, but in order to launch the game, they still go through. But yeah, I also have Origin Access. I prepaid for the year. Do you pay monthly or did you prepay?
I pay for the year because it's cheaper.
Dude, yeah, $100 for 12 months. Oh my, what
way
a deal!
to pay for the year than to go monthly. But I think that's how they get a lot of people because they just look at, it's only this month. It's so much cheaper. Well, the first initial price tag you get is cheaper, but if you add it up, you're paying a lot more if you go the monthly subscription for that service.
It's actually $80 more.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a
So
lot.
I think notably the things that are most interesting are the fact that EA left 8 years ago from Steam. The things that they're going to bring back to Steam are Apex Legends, which is huge, right? So all the player base, because I feel like, I don't know if you guys are the same way, but whenever I'm looking for extra hard drive space, I go onto Steam and I completely forget that I have games installed on EA, on Epic Games. So I completely forget that I have those games installed, right? Unless it's on the Steam launcher.
Do you actually run out of hard drive space?
Sometimes. Yeah. Well, I have like thousands of gigs, terabytes of shit.
I don't install anything if I'm not using it. Like,
yeah, it's all like footage and renderings and shit.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah. I bought a dedicated hard drive just for games. So
Same
I
here.
always used to have that issue because of how many pictures and videos I would have. But as of late, I haven't run into that issue.
Yeah. But that's going to be interesting for Apex Legends, right? Because the entire player base is looking for free-to-play games through Steam. Will have access to EA games. I don't like the fact that it's going to require Origin. If that's the case, I really hate that. Like with Rainbow Six and Ubisoft, they do the same thing.
Yep.
It's like, let me just boot the fucking game without having to open something else.
Right.
You know, it's like it's a shortcut. Thanks for the shortcut. Hey, like it's good that I was able to buy this through Steam and take a little bit of a cut away from EA. But it's completely fucking useless. Besides the discoverability, right? Like if someone wants to discover a game that they want to purchase, it's more likely to happen now through Steam. So it's probably better for EA than anything. But I think that the notable things will probably be an increase of a player base for Apex Legends, FIFA, and Battlefield. So
Real quick question for both of you, and I want chat to participate. I want you to put a 0 in chat. So when you first open Steam on your computer, and this is if you're a PC gamer, when you first open Steam and that Steam news window pops up and has all the deals or all of the new releases, I want you to put a 0 in chat if you do not scroll through them, and a 1 in chat if you scroll through those deals and see what is on sale or coming up.
You said a 0 if you don't?
If you don't, yep.
breadstick if you do.
Breadstick if you do.
I'm a 1.
Really?
Every time I look through it, because there's either going to be a game on sale or there's something new that I don't know about that's going to be coming out.
You sheeple fucking consumer piece of shit.
I haven't looked at it in a really long time. If there's like a specific sale of like if the image is what has to grab my attention, but that's just simple like placements of me being ADD. Like if there's something that's interesting and that pops up, I'm like, oh, cool. But if it's something that's completely non-interesting to me, I'm just like, nah, I'm not. I don't give it any attention.
I think a long time ago when I first got Steam many years ago, I probably was looking through their sales stuff or seeing, and I was going through those lists, you know?
Yep.
But nowadays, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I already have too many games to play, so I'm never really looking for sales of shit. You know, it's bad enough just with the new titles that come out and shit that comes up that I'm like, that weren't even on my radar. Like a prime example would be like that Goose game.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't even on my radar at all, and I ended up buying it and playing through that and had a lot of fun. It was a good game.
Did you beat it?
Mm-hmm. Off stream. I finished it off stream. Yeah.
Wow.
It was fun. Fun game.
So let's do a simple call to action. I've been listening to a lot of marketing books.
If you've been listening to this podcast and you're a gamer yourself, tweet at us at twitter.com/knackers with 3 A's and tweet us the games that you've recently bought. If you've bought them, if you're a breadstick and you've bought games from Steam recently from one of their little ad things that pops up in their news section.
Also, make sure you go to YouTube and like and describe.
Oh shit! Do you listen to audiobooks? Like, I know that you're a big Gary Vaynerchuk guy.
I was literally just talking about this last night or yesterday on stream. How my motivation to listen to music is at an all-time low, and I much prefer audiobooks and podcasts to listening to music. Like, I don't know what it is. I have no interest in music right now, like at all.
I'm the same way right now with streams. I can't watch streams. I can't do it. Like I do it every now and then when I need a little bit of a distraction, but I'd much rather listen to a podcast. I don't know. It's, it comes and goes in phases. I'm sure we've all listened to Joe Rogan for, a couple weeks at a time, but yeah, I tend to have that.
I'm not a fan of Joe Rogan.
Unlucky.
Yeah.
Bishop doesn't watch streams. Jimmy doesn't like Joe Rogan. What is this podcast?
Sell out.
Why don't you like Joe Rogan?
I don't know. There's just something about him that just rubs me the wrong way. Like, I don't know. I think he's kind of, I don't know. I think he's kind of full of himself. I don't know. Just,
yeah.
That's all. I mean, it's not, like, I'm not saying he's not a talented guy, and I'm not saying I dislike you that you love his show and whatnot, and I know that was a big inspiration for this podcast. It's not that. It's just, like, I've tried listening to his show, and I just couldn't do it.
Okay, that's fair. I can get that.
Couldn't do it. Yeah.
The thing I don't like about him, one of the main things is that he can be a bipartisan about everything up until it comes to weed, and then he just like attacks people on it.
Yeah, he's had some real bad times with that in the past.
Yeah, that's the one and only thing that I could think of. Besides that, it's just whatever, just content.
Word.
I mean, like, it's not bad content. It's just not. I personally am not a fan of it, but I honestly, I get why people like the show.
I haven't listened to a Joe Rogan podcast in probably 6 to 8 months plus.
Yeah, same. You'll be back.
Someday.
You'll kick. Yeah. We'll be back. It'll be like a kick where you start listening to it, and then you'll get tired of something about the show. But that's how it is with everything. But what I was initially asking was that, like, through audiobooks, I've noticed, and a lot of people, there's a lot of like Gary Vaynerchuk mimickers, and I fall into the loop of listening to what Gary's a legend, but like listening to what he says and then replicating it immediately without applying it to something that's relative to me.
Right.
You see that happen a lot, but I've noticed in audiobooks specifically, the Gary Vaynerchuk like specific like call to actions that he does throughout the book. He's like, hey, and if you want to see an image of this, go to learningaudiobook.com and you can check it out for yourself. I've noticed that in a lot of audiobooks that are similar to Gary's, that a lot of people do those similar call to actions.
Oh yeah.
So it's crazy. A lot of the same shit.
So many. And I don't really care about anybody else because nobody else speaks to me like Gary does. But it's nonstop with a lot of people. And with his, like, I'm always motivated to do so because of the knowledge and value that he has brought to me, like, in my everyday life. So it all just like depends on who you click with, right?
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
All right. So one of your first points here was, do you feel yourself being more inspired when you get a new piece of technology? Example, Knackers just bought a new camera. So I know how I feel, but I'm very intrigued to hear how Jimbo feels as far as getting new tech or getting new hardware for the stream.
So I don't get new hardware very often, but I'm actually planning on buying a new mixer really soon. That what's it called? The Go XLR.
The No XLR.
So I know when I get that, then it'll probably inspire me to like readjust all my audio shit and really try and once again kind of harness and get a little bit better sound out of my microphone. Like I know that, yes. So the short answer is yes, it does. Anytime I get new equipment, I'm always wanting to tinker and do that stuff. It doesn't happen often, but I remember when I got the Stream Deck, I think it took me like 6 months to really kind of get used to a button configuration that I really liked and was functional for me. And now that I have it, I have made very minor changes to it since then. And I was an early adopter of the Stream Deck, and it's been great. Yes. The answer is yes. I certainly, it does inspire me to try and get a little better. Yeah.
Yeah. I find myself, like, if I get a new lens, and specifically like with camera shit, if I get a new lens, I'm looking at everything through that lens. Like, I'm trying to find ways that I can use that lens to shoot things a little bit differently. But specifically with like technology, I know that, like, I don't know, there's like this weird feeling that you get when you have something like that inspires you. Like, for instance, like people that are streamers, eventually you kind of get to this point where you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to go live right now. And you kind of like start talking yourself out of it. But I know that, and it's probably just weird consumerism or whatever the term is for it. That when you have something new, it's like, oh, but I have a new Stream Deck, so this is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Like this is inspiring me to do so. But so I find myself falling. It's like the placebo of having that extra piece of equipment, like inspires you to, or at least inspires me to do things that I wouldn't normally want to do. For better or for worse. I know that when I got another capture card, I just had a second camera for literally no reason, but just to switch to it. I was like, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. I'll use this all day.
But yeah, I was wondering that because I know that Knackers, you got your new camera and then almost immediately you were doing a talking head video, which I actually watched the whole thing up and I thought thought you did a really good job.
Thank you. It was just like, I knew that I had already had that conversation. And then again, going back to Gary Vee, one of his main things that he tries to tell people is stop trying to like create something. Stop trying to create like the next best thing and just document what you're doing. Show people your journey onto what you want to be instead of just making the thing that you want to make. And so that's kind of what I've been trying to do lately. And when I thought about the conversation that I had to have with Salty regarding the podcast, I'm like, you know what? This is probably something that somebody is going to have to go through at a point in their life regarding Twitch. Because, with this thing that we all love, it's only natural to find people that you like being around and saying, hey, let's do this thing together. And there's going to come a point where your lives just go in different directions. And one of you still wants to do the thing. Maybe somebody else doesn't, or maybe people's passions change, or, there's so many variables. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna record this. And like, I got so much positive reinforcement from that video. Yeah. And like, I had so many people tell me how much that it, like how great it was. And all I did was take a camera on a tripod and I set it on my desk and I talked into it for 20 minutes straight. And then I uploaded it. So it just goes to show you how it's not about all the super flashy, high production quality bullshit. It's about the message and the context behind the content that really, really matters sometimes. So yeah, as soon as I got that camera and I realized that I had a dedicated rig that I could do that kind of stuff with, I was so fucking pumped. As somebody who has used this device for editing and posting every photo and video that I've put out, I mean, other than like Twitch clip compilations, but like all of the clips that I post on social media, they are all downloaded, edited, and uploaded from my phone. All of my document episodes were all shot, edited, and uploaded from my phone. So like, getting away from using this multimedia device and having a dedicated camera, it completely changed the game for me. It was so great to going back to having a camera.
So to be fair, you very well could have done that beforehand with the exact setup that you have right now in your studio through OBS. You could have very well recorded that with your Sub 2R or your webcam. But do you think that, going back to the question, do you think that made you were you more inspired because it looks beautiful and obviously it's a cool piece of equipment and it provides an extra piece of quality? Do you think that pushed you that much further to have made that video?
I think I would be lying if I said no. Like, there's a part of me that doesn't want that to be the prominent part of the answer. But like, when I got it and I saw how good the lens looked, I said to myself, this would make a great fucking video, like a great looking video. And I put I turned this light on, I turned this one off, I set my Philips Hue to a color scheme I liked, and then I just shot it. Like, I put so little effort into it. Can I confidently say that I would have shot it if I didn't have the camera? Maybe. I can't say for sure either way. So yeah,
you would have used a different medium potentially.
Right. Like I've been using my phone up until this point the entire time. But anybody who knows that's done that before is like using your camera to shoot is great. When you want to do extensive shoot where you're shooting 20, 30, 40 minutes of video, getting all of that media off of your phone, like as soon as you shoot the media, it automatically starts uploading it to iCloud and syncing it to the other devices. It can just be a pain.
It's a nightmare. I feel like I'm the same way. It's kind of like on Christmas Day when you get a new pair of like basketball shoes. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go play fucking basketball now. Like maybe it's like 6 weeks since you last played, but you're like, I have something new. I'm gonna get out there and go and do it. So I don't know. I feel like that I'm a lot like that with technology, regardless of, even it could be something as simple as like new LED lights, if they kind of like play into the passion and influence you, that's going to help you. Like, it's just going to elevate my quality that much better.
Yeah.
I feel like you're more inclined to do things, even though I'm not insinuating that you only did that video because you got a new camera, but right. I think that the content of the video was fantastic. Like I normally, like, I'll sit back and I'll watch, stuff here and there. But if, just like you said, like if the quality of if the narrative isn't necessarily there in the content of the video, especially for like someone talking to the camera, there's no point on watching, right? Like people are going to get bored. They're going to leave. Twitch is the opposite of that, because people could literally sit and do nothing and people are still willing to watch them. But I found it really, it was nice. It was nice because I feel like I've had that same kind of, question in my mind where like I'll have buddies that I'll play WoW with, right? And all of a sudden someone like steps out of the game for, months on end, right? And I'm usually that person, right? Like their interest levels change, the things that they're, talking about change. Like if it, I had a buddy I was playing WoW with that went and played Call of Duty, like the new Call of Duty came out, and then all of a sudden he wasn't on the game ever again. And then every time that I spoke to him, we were talking about COD, but yeah, you did a good job. Just this doesn't need to be in the podcast. Let's just cut this out, but I'm kind of jerking you off a little bit. This is my I was like, hey, I can either write in the comment sections or I can just tell Knackers that I liked it.
No, I mean, it's always good to get, feedback from another human that's not text, right? So I appreciate it. And it's kind of a hard conversation to have because streamers try and tell people who are getting into streaming that you don't need the good hardware to do it. But when you've been doing something for so long, there gets to a point where you can't do the certain thing that you want to do unless you have the certain hardware. Like there's just certain things. Now, could I have recorded that with my phone or with my Sub 2R with OBS? Absolutely. But I just took advantage of the hardware that I just spent a bunch of money on. Spent a bunch of money on. Like it would have been terrible if I would have just used something else,
A quick interjection, because we're finishing up that note and there's a bunch of other talking points. I actually just thought of a talking point, and it's going to be really short, but I wanted to ask you guys something because I know you use their products. Have any of you guys tried out the Apple TV Plus subscription service?
I have a free trial. I have not checked it out yet.
Okay. I'm just waiting. It looks like the only reason I ask is I'm getting ready to have a little more free time. And I mean, I already have tons of content available. I know that to me, but for $5 a month, and I think it's mostly ad free too. I think.
I actually don't know about that one.
Well, I don't know, but $5 a month, and it seems like they got a lot of interesting shows on there. So
$5 a month for a family too, not just a single user subscription.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was just curious. I don't know anyone that's watching it or using it, so I just wanted to ask if you guys had. That's all.
After I heard that Twitch was releasing a official Apple TV app, that's what prompted me to buy my most recent Apple TV. I've been using it to watch. Ooh, Mr. Robot episode comes out today.
Wait, the new season started?
Dude, there's been 5 episodes already. Dude, get caught up, man. It's so goddamn good.
I'm gonna have to. Oh my god, what channel is that? It's like USA, right?
USA, yep. And
I don't know what I'm gonna do because I didn't record them.
Dude,
spoilers in chat. Spoiler.
No, fucking go on your Apple TV, press the remote, and say Mr. Robot, and then you can rent it episode by episode, or you can rent the season.
Okay. Yeah. All right, I'll do that. Yeah, I want to watch. This is the final season of it too.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a damn good show.
First episode, it just picks up exactly where it left off. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, no, I only have Netflix and Hulu, and the time that I do spend watching TV, there's enough content there. So it's
I know. It's like, do I really need more content? There's so much.
Yeah.
And luckily, at my apartment, we have like we don't have live TV here. Like we don't have CNN, we don't have sports or anything like that that's happening live unless it's unless it's broadcasted somewhere else for free. But what I've been doing is like whenever there's a Portland game, I'll go and run on the treadmill and just kind of watch the game. And they have like a TV built into it, which isn't like this isn't a boomer talking about this and being like, oh man, they got TVs and treadmills now. This is a gameplay experience. But it's cool. I would have never understood why the TV was there, because I'd just be like, oh, I'm just going to listen to my music. But I've started to do that. Like whenever there's a live sports game, I'll just go and run on the treadmill.
Yeah.
So.
There you go. I currently don't have any streaming subscription services at the moment other than Amazon Prime, just because I already have Amazon Prime. I'll probably get Netflix at some point, but the amount of time that I actually sit down and watch content like that is very, very minimal. I'm usually
that is more for my wife and son than it is for me. Like I watch very little streaming content, but they consume a lot of it.
Right.
Like way more than I do. So I buy it for them. I mean, mainly.
Right.
Yeah.
They're the ones that use it most.
there's
It's like our bedtime shit, you know? Like before we go to bed, we pop on some Netflix or Hulu, or if we're like, hey, we're gonna eat some food right now, we don't have we do have a table, but we just sit down and watch a show. But
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have TVs in the bedrooms?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, too many mirrors is what you're saying. The wall.
Yeah, you gotta have to take down some of your mirrors in your bedroom, man.
Better yet, have a TV that's a two-way mirror, so when the TVs are off, you can just turn the.
No, I know there's some people that say that's a bad thing to do, but honestly, watching a show in bed is one of my favorite things to do with my wife, where we'll, cozy up and get to watch an enjoyable show. Plus, we have like one of those mattresses now that it's like the purple mattress that you can recline up and down, so you can kind of sit. So it's almost like laying on a couch, but even more comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I say to that? You don't know what the fuck is going on in my house, and you do not know what is good for me in my bedroom. So suck on my wiener. That's what I say to that.
No. Wait, what are you talking about? No, I'm just saying,
when people say to you, or when you see that having a TV in your
right.
bedroom is bad, it's like, you don't know what the fuck is going on in my life. Stop.
Yeah, but I think, isn't that like a thing where you're like, oh, you shouldn't have TV in your bedroom? Because I'm like, well, why does it fucking matter?
It's killing the romance and the relationship between you. Bitch, we like watching Game of Thrones. We get off on seeing Khaleesi's boobies and then we fuck. Don't talk shit about me.
What's crazy is where that comes from is your parents' generation. Because
Yes.
do you know what they did? They're like,
Oh, why do you guys have a TV? Like, that's crazy.
And meanwhile, they
It's
sat and read
definitely, it's a
books.
boomer generation thing for sure.
Yeah.
But they sat and they read books until they went to bed. They didn't sit there like
Yeah.
looking into each other's eyes saying, hey, Stacy, I love you.
Or the dad went to the bedroom with his TV tray while the rest of the family ate by themselves.
Yeah.
By the way, we're probably not going to have time to touch on all of these talking points. So it's going to be up to you to pick the ones that you like most. But I want to save the other ones for the next episode.
Okay. Yeah. I was just thinking that as well. So I know what I'm going to skip. I already thought of that in the back of my mind while we were going over a few things. But I think the first thing that we can touch on, because there's a good question that's kind of on the back end of it, but another big Twitch streamer, and we're really late on this, but if you're listening to the podcast, you don't know any better. You're listening to a podcast. You're not listening to us live, you moron. You're listening to this in a delay. What's wrong with you? Watch us live on twitch.tv/knackers. You can
3
see us
A's.
live every Sunday. Big pucks. But
Big pause, dude.
Shroud moved to Mixer in between the time that we've had the last podcast and now. And I can't say personally that I saw this coming, but I knew that someone else was going to leave. So what are your guys' do you have any immediate thoughts? Jimmy, go.
I have never watched a Shroud stream, so that's my thought.
I've heard his name, but I have no idea. I couldn't tell you what he looks like. I couldn't tell you what he sounds like. I have no idea what he streams. So I was just like, Shroud moves to Mixer. I was like, okay, I've heard of him, but never watched a Shroud stream. So he
is a professional CS:GO player gone live streamer. So he played CS:GO professionally.
That's why I don't know or watch him, because I don't play that game.
He's an FPS guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm gonna get a beer.
All right, man. Knackers, any immediate thoughts? So here's how I would, because obviously everyone's talked about this and we've seen 100 tweets about it. But does it immediately put any thoughts in your mind, like regardless of whether or not you watch Shroud? Is it something that's interesting to you as a subject? Like, is there anything that you ask yourself after kind of seeing? Because ultimately, Twitch did, Twitch lost two of their biggest streamers, right, as far as viewership and sub count goes, which is a pretty large hit to the platform in general. As far as you couldn't find two other guys besides Ninja and Shroud that have that many subscribers, right? So revenue generators, right, for the platform. Is there anything besides the fact, like, because I know a lot of people don't watch Shroud or that do watch Shroud, regardless of what you think of Shroud individually? Is there any thoughts that come to mind about seeing other people leaving Twitch?
Yes. So first and foremost, what do you think the percentage of subscribers who stop paying on Twitch and move to Mixer and continuing to subscribe versus how many people take that $5 that they have a month and go subscribe to somebody else?
So you're asking how many people, you're answering my question with a question by asking me how. I like this. How many? So what came to your mind is how many of those people that are subscribed to Shroud currently, or that were Shroud or subscribed to Shroud previous to him leaving Twitch and going to Mixer, how many of them are likely to go to Mixer and start subscribing to him there on a separate platform? I think that 70% of the people, 70%, or maybe even more than that, I would say that a realistic assessment is about 70% of the people that watch Shroud or would watch Shroud on Twitch probably won't go to Mixer.
Or at least subscribe on Mixer.
Yeah, subscribe on Mixer. I would say that I don't know exactly what the numbers are. I remember looking like 6 or 7 months ago, XQC, Ninja, and Shroud, if I remember correctly, don't quote me on this, but I believe that over 50% of their subscribers were Twitch Prime subscribers.
Yep.
So I think that a majority of the subscribers already were, basically obtaining their subscriptions through, having Twitch Prime or having their parents having Twitch Prime. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people that will follow Ninja or Shroud to Mixer. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to immediately start subscribing there because there's not a ton of value there, right? Like there's not a ton of value of being, a subscriber to Shroud on Mixer, right? Because you have to imagine certain people will subscribe to a stream just to be able to have those emotes accessible in other chats, right? It brings some sort of notoriety or clout with the chat to and that's not the only factor, but the fact that, if I'm a subscriber of Dr. Disrespect and then I go into a stream and it's a Fortnite World Cup event and I start spamming, Dr. Disrespect emotes, they're, like the blonde bang kid, you immediately know what the reference is, right?
Right.
So I think that a little bit of that value, or a majority of the value of subscribing is lost by him swapping to Mixer. So I would say that a majority of the people will not follow in his coattails, and it not necessarily just with Shroud, but I think with anyone that is considering that has a decently sized community on Twitch. A majority of those people aren't going to follow you, but then an even greater majority of the people that that do follow are probably unlikely to subscribe. And I think that that's why Mixer is also incentivizing, as part of the deals that they're writing for through the acquisition of these content creators, they're actually writing into the deals these bonuses where people are receiving free subscriptions, right? So if you go over to Mixer, you can get a free subscription to Shroud. Or to, I don't know if Ninjas is still available where you can subscribe for free.
I don't think so. I think it's been a couple of months already.
Yeah, I think it's been a couple months. So I think that that value is lost in a way, right? Like people aren't necessarily they're going to go and get their free sub right now. But yeah, I think that it's going to be less than 30% of people that are currently subscribed to him are going to follow and resubscribe on Mixer.
So here's my main thing. Now, I don't understand, and I can't even begin to fathom what big business is like and the moves that those big businesses have to make in order to make a name for themselves and in order to progress their brand. You know, they are attempting to combat one of the largest streaming conglomerate on the fucking planet is what they're trying to do right now. So my thought is, what kind of value are you instilling in your platform when the people are only switching because of a paycheck? Like what kind of like what does it mean to everybody else when people are only making the jump over because they're either getting a nice contract and they're being like, wait, I can get a set amount of money for the next 3 years doing what I'm already doing. Like, it's obviously a no-brainer for those people.
Right.
But what does it say to the platform as a whole where people are only moving over because of those opportunities exist? It's odd to me that one person made the switch and then another person made the switch and then another person's going to make the switch. And it's just going to kind of snowball. Where were all those people before Mixer was making the deals, right? So that's kind of is my only fear. And because the people at the top are making those switches, you obviously have the trickle down effect of the other people who are going, oh, you know what? Here's this other platform who hasn't done anything bad to me yet. And they seem to, you know, their rules seem to be great and they don't like titty streamers. So I'm going to go over there and I'm going to have a good time. It worries me a little bit. And one of the main arguments is, it should be about the content, not the platform. Cool. Then why are people switching?
Me personally, I mean, I'm not a big streamer by any stretch of the imagination, so I could never see myself. I would never be offered a contract to leave Twitch. Yeah. But even if in the back of my mind, I mean, surely when Mixer, which before was. What was it before Mixer? It was like
shit. I can't even remember.
I can't remember the name, but my audience is on Twitch. I have an established group of friends that I know from Twitch. I want to be where the audience is, me personally. And there's nothing. I mean, does Mixer have some cool bells and whistles and things that they do? Absolutely. But the reason why I stream is because I like hanging out with people around the world and I like playing video games, and that's where my audience is. So it's never even been a notion to myself to switch. And you're right. The only thing that's causing most of these people to switch, I think, that are the bigger guys, is just a paycheck. I don't know many people that have made the switch to Mixer and are finding any more success than they really had on Twitch.
Right.
I mean,
right.
A bit, pretty similar amounts of success, but I don't think I've known anyone that's made. And I've known a few streamers that have made the switch from Twitch to Mixer, but I don't see them like all of a sudden blowing up because they made the switch. Because I think the content is still the same for them. They still have the same content, just a different platform. I think some people, it's kind of like. There's an old saying that we have in football and like coaching, like it ain't about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and Joes. Me being a Jimmy, I really like that saying, but
of course,
it's the same thing that you talk about. It's not so much about the bells and whistles or the this or that. It comes down to who you got or what the content is in this regard. So, again, that's just my opinion. I'm not shitting on Mixer or anything. I know that it's trying to establish itself as a platform. I'm not shitting on people that want to go to Mixer. There's a variety of reasons that people do to or reasons that people have to make that switch. Me personally, unless I were to lose, like if I had people that have been hanging out with me for a long time, if all of a sudden, I would hit start streaming and it turned into an empty chat room. Yeah, I would probably consider making the switch at that point, because then that was why I was there to begin with, to hang out and talk to people. So that's the only reason why I would make the switch, is if just my stream just tanked and I wasn't getting any sort of viewership.
Right.
Then I would consider making a move, or more realistically, I'd be like, well, what did I do to stop getting viewership?
Exactly. That's the thing. saying is if you're not changing what you're doing, this magical platform shift where there is significantly less attention from the rest of the internet is not going to just make your content better. And I know that a lot of people, that isn't the reason that they're switching. But it all comes down to the reasoning behind why people are making the switch. Like, oh, I feel like because there's less people over there, I'm going to have a better chance of being seen. It's the same argument of how people think the discoverability is the reason why they're not doing well on Twitch. It's not. Maybe you just aren't ready to have that type of viewership. Maybe you are not that good. Maybe you need to spend some more time in bettering yourself and your content. There's plenty of people who get hosted by massive streamers. And when I'm talking massive, I'm talking 10, 20, 30,000 people raids, hosts. And then you check on those people in the next couple of weeks and they are at the same exact viewership as they were before. There's a time and a place for you to get to that certain level. And it's not just going to take eyes on you in order for you to make it. You have to be ready to make it. And you have to be a certain type of person. And you have to have a certain set of skills as well.
Yeah. I think that streaming in general, just to kind of follow up on your point, Knackers, is that streaming in general is a bad idea if you don't really have a community of people somewhere else, and not necessarily a community, but a following of people or a connection of a handful of people somewhere else on a different platform. So, and with that being said, because the likelihood that you're discovered without funneling other people to the platform, whether that be your friend group, I'm not saying like a community like having an Instagram following or anything along those lines, or to the extent of that, but what I'm saying is if you don't have people to come and support you, like someone, through your gaming community, through your connections on, on Steam, or through playing a game, having Twitch in your name, which I know a lot of people do, it's hard to be discovered. Even if you're not funneling people from one place to another, or your family and friends from Facebook, if you're not pushing them to watch your stream at first, it's hard to be discovered if you don't necessarily have viewers to start. It's almost impossible, right? So discoverability on Twitch in general, it's a myth. It's almost impossible unless you already have viewers, right? How many people right now, and you could go and pull it up right now, open up the category for Fortnite. How many of those people have under 3 viewers? It's a majority. It's an overwhelming majority of people. If I remember right, there's over like 3 million people every month, or individual streamers that are going live every single month. In a majority of those people, it's less than 1% of those people have over 200-300 viewers. So that your possibility of becoming successful on Twitch is either, if you're relying on Twitch by itself, is 100% based on chance, on if someone's going to or if someone's going to host you, if someone notable finds you, your discoverability and your chance to become successful is almost nothing. So you're basing it on chance at that point. But I think that going back to the whole point with Mixer and with people moving over from Twitch, right? And I think that immediately what we go to, because the first thing that we see in the headlines when these changes happen, when Ninja goes or when Shroud goes, is it's immediately a question of how much money, right? And I think that what people tend to look over and glaze over is the other benefits that might come from switching besides the monetary points, right? And I think that one thing that's you kind of have to preface the question that you're asking with other questions, like, for instance, the difference between Twitch and Mixer, there's not a lot as far as technology is concerned. The platform itself is very similar. Like the chat, the layout, almost everything is almost exact replica, right? Just a different branding, different skin, you could say. I think the question that you have to ask yourself, if you're a streamer and you're interested in this sort of thing, of why people are switching to Mixer, is why are you on Twitch instead of Mixer? What is it that's keeping, or that brought you to this platform in the first place? Was it the word of mouth from people that you know, or and also if you're streaming right now, if you're a consistent streamer and you're between 5 and 100 viewers, why haven't you switched to Mixer, right? And I think that for myself, the answer to that is the fact that everyone else that I know is here. Right. So everyone else through the gaming community that I've known immediately went to Twitch right away because it was the first notable name in game streaming. Right. Even though YouTube kind of made a little bit of a play at it, this is the place that everyone went. And I think, recently that has changed a little bit, and I think a lot of people have followed in the path of these headlines that have come out about Ninja making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there's a lot of people we know, we know enough of them that popped up, and a majority of the the wave of Fortnite streamers that immediately started popping up were because of headlines like that, right? Like if you look at when people started to join Twitch, a big reason for that was these, massive, immeasurable amounts of money that this kid was making playing video games and the headlines that were following up with it. But if we look immediately at the statistics behind, if you say, okay, people are on Twitch and streamers are on Twitch right now because of the money, and people are only leaving and going to Mixer, and you were asking the question about what does that say for Mixer as a platform? If people are only going to Mixer right now based on the, on the amount of money that people are willing to pay them, right? Like Shroud's only changing because, there's a paycheck involved. But I think that before you can jump to that assumption, because you're assuming that the only reason that someone switched is, and a lot of people do, I'm not just singling you out, but people are assuming that, people are assuming that streamers are only switching because of monetary reasons, right? It's because they're getting a big paycheck. Obviously, that's a big part of it. But I think that you have to consider being a streamer that Twitch isn't the best platform. You're not going to make the most money here. Per capita, Facebook streamers are making more than YouTube and Twitch combined. So if you want to be a successful streamer based on the monetary or the amount of money you can make, the period of time that you invest in streaming, Facebook's the best place to do it. Facebook has the best discoverability. You're more likely to be, become successful if you're streaming something like Fortnite because they already have the user base, right?
Right.
But I think that to go back and answer the question about, it's purely my opinion, but I think that, with the recent stuff that's been going on Twitch and, everyone's, recently people have been talking about the things that have been happening with moderation and with, these different headlines that have been hitting recently, whether it be, Dr. Disrespect streaming in a bathroom on CNN or this platform, right? This platform in general has had a lot of negative media surrounding it recently. And at this point, I think that, it goes without saying that it's not a very family-friendly platform. And it could immediately, with one simple headline posting on CNN or Fox News saying, hey, could your kids be baited into a website from video games and then be indirectly brought to seeing naked girls? Right? Because that's ultimately how, you could come to Twitch looking at Fortnite and then immediately see a porn star that's also streaming in the just chatting category. And just immediately you get, you have a Fortnite player go and host, one of these porn stars that's now streaming the just chatting category. And then you have all those kids that would be in there exposed to that. There's a simple headline that ultimately is going to end up getting written at some point, and that's going to tarnish the reputation or has the potential of tarnishing the reputation of the platform to make it non-friendly or family friendly. So I was thinking about Jimmy's point, right? So Jimmy, obviously, he works in the school district. He works
education,
public education, public education. The easiest way to say that. So I think that the presumption for him, there'd probably be an opportunity, outside of the monetary reasons to switch to Mixer or to a different platform, if Twitch became the world star hip hop that it's becoming of live streaming, right? So if it had that negative connotation surrounding it, I think that a lot more streamers, right, and because those are the headlines that people that aren't people that are going to watch streams organically, they're going to see the headlines, right? They're going to see things that are said about Twitch. And then if you go out in public and you're like, hey, I'm a Twitch streamer. And they're like, oh, you guys are those guys that, that throw cats and film in bathrooms, right? Oh, we know all about you guys. So I think that the presumption could force other streamers out. That might be a reason why, Shroud left or why Ninja left or why, Goliathan left. One thing you have to realize is that Mixer's rules and their guidelines are a lot more strict than that of Twitch. They are 100% taking a majority loss in their viewership. I think you can see that with Ninja. He went from having 80,000 viewers to now his average is like 1/10 of that. I think his average is between 10 and 15,000 right now on Mixer. So he took a massive dock in viewership. But at the same time, he is more of a family. He's on a platform that's now more family friendly, and his discoverability is actually increased because everyone that goes on in their Xbox in that day that's playing Fortnite or any other game
see Shroud
is gonna get an advertisement that says, "Hey, Shroud's streaming now." So the opportunity for them to find out about him and his platform, even though he doesn't have as many viewers right now, is much, much greater, because you have to realize that with Twitch, they're relying on YouTube and Instagram and these other platforms to funnel viewers, right? Ninja's viewers didn't come from Twitch. It came from YouTube. It came from, from him posting daily videos on YouTube and Instagram. So as crazy as it seems, the last thing that I'll say for now, and then you guys can kind of pipe in, is that another, based on viewership, obviously you're going to take a massive hit right away. If you switch to Mixer, right? If you're one of these big streamers. But you have to also realize that Amazon doesn't have a platform that has viewership or has a user base that they can push to Twitch. Obviously, Amazon has Amazon. They have Amazon.com where you can buy items, but what are the percentage of people that are willing to go and watch a stream from that point, right?
Yeah, that conversion rate.
That conversion rate is going to be very, very, very minimal. Where Xbox, with Mixer, as soon as someone boots up their Xbox, one of the apps that is showcased is Mixer. And you're much more likely to watch a piece of content that's relative to you as a gamer than you are if you're someone buying, a fleshlight on Amazon.
There's the tie-in right there. Yeah, I mean, and that's not like the basis of my opinion is people are just switching for money, because you can look at Ninja and go, okay, there are really, really good reasons why he would want to partner up with Microsoft. His history with Halo and the future that Halo is going to be having on the platform and streaming. So there's a lot of other reasons. So yeah, that's definitely not the basis, but it's a large chunk. My thing here is, why isn't anybody talking about any of the other reasons? If money isn't the reason and there are other reasons, how come there's nobody talking about, hey, these are the other reasons why switching to Mixer was a great idea for me?
They're not sexy. A $50 million headline is way sexier than someone saying, hey, because I think from the perspective of the streamer, they're getting a majority of their time back by switching to Mixer. Ninja has only streamed, he used to stream 200-300 hours a month. He's only streamed 90 hours since switching to Mixer, or around 90 hours. I don't know exactly the numbers, but it's less than half of the amount of streams and half the amount of time. So if you think of it that way, if you're someone that's making, let's just imagine Ninja was making $500,000, right, a year, just for numbers basis. If he can make $500,000 with a quarter of the time invested by switching platforms, it's worth it to him. Right. You were talking about this the other day, right? You brought up, I don't know if it was on the podcast, I think it may have been, but you were talking about how you wish that you could keep your full-time job, but if only they gave you one day back, right? Like if it was a Monday or a Friday, that would help with your content creation, right?
Yep.
So once you get to the point where you're making X amount of money and you're one of these big streamers that you're spending, 8 hours a day streaming, if Mixer says to you, hey, we're gonna solidify, we're gonna, because if you look at it, Twitch right now, they don't give you anything as far as, as a partner. If you stop streaming and you stop getting your subscribers, you get nothing. They don't pay you salary. They don't pay your health benefits. They pay nothing. So if as a streamer, like at the size of Ninja or the size of Shroud, if Mixer came to you and they said, hey, we're going to give you $50,000 a month guaranteed. You have to stream, half the amount of time that you're investing, right? So 15 days a month, we want to see you streaming. You get half your days back, and we're going to give you health and benefits. It's a no-brainer, because it's obviously it's gonna, it's reducing the amount of time and the investment that's required to stay at the top, right? Because someone like Ninja or like Shroud that are basing a lot of their entertainment on their gameplay, as soon as they stop investing that amount of time, it's not necessarily just people that aren't going to come into their channel, or less people that are willing to come into their channel. It's also that they're not going to be at the very top of the game, right? Like as soon as you fall off in a game like Apex or CSGO, it requires time to get back to that point. And I'm sure Shroud can fucking boot the game back up and be amazing.
Right.
There's a lot less that they have to worry about.
So you just said it's not about money, but then provided like 6 great reasons why it's about money.
It is about money. That's what. either it's about money or that's a lot of reason people making the switch. I think that are not big streamers. It's the allure of possibly making more money.
A consistent paycheck, and who doesn't want that?
Yeah, I get
everybody.
it, and if that is the reason, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
To me personally, though, like I mentioned before, I could never see myself making the move unless it got to where my viewership just totally tanked.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask yourself, well, why is it that your viewership tanked? Because people come and go on Twitch. I mean, I've had people that have been around since I started streaming that are still around now. I have people that are there all the time for a while, disappear for a year, then all of a sudden you see them again, or you may never see them again. It's just that's the nature of streaming. Other things happen in life, and that's what it is. But I mean, I think we're kidding ourselves if people said that the main reason that people are switching to Mixer isn't money. It's the main reason.
Right. So my point is, Bishop, and all of the reasons that don't involve money that are a good reason to switch.
Right.
How many of those are obtainable by people who aren't Shroud or Ninja?
So I guess that comes down to why you're streaming in general. Are you streaming as a small streamer? Wait, we'll talk about this from the perspective of a small streamer. Are you streaming to make money? And if that's the case, you're probably not going to succeed regardless, because that's not how streaming doesn't pay off for the people that are in it for the money. It is as terrible as that is. If you're in it for the money, you will not be successful in streaming, because it is a terrible amount of time investment. The time investment for the payoff is insane. If anyone else from outside of the streaming industry, and I had a point about Mark Cuban, because he looked at the streaming community and he said, anyone that looks at the hours to payoff ratio that thinks that this is a good business to be in is fucking insane, because you can go get a minimum wage job. For the majority of people that are going to stream are not going to be as successful as Shroud or the top 1% of people that are streaming, right? So to look at that in a market, in any market in the world, to look at it and say to yourself that you should base your potential success off the very top guys in the market is, at its simplest, moronic.
Right.
It's as dumb as it gets, right? So if you saw a headline that said, hey, Ninja's making 500 grand, and you're like, man, I can do that. That's like if I was like, hey, oh my God, Antonio Brown was making $15 million a year. I'm going to play football now. It's that stupid. It's honestly that stupid.
I thought that was basketball when you said that name.
He's a football player.
It's okay. Was a football player.
Played for the Spurs, right?
Was a football player. Yeah. So
now he's
wait, he was
an idiot. Well, he was always an idiot, but that's why he's not.
I should have used a different example.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
LeBron James is going to make a ton of money in basketball. The chance that you're going to become a successful basketball player is almost minimal. It's similar to poker, right? So my just going back to what you're talking about with why, of all the monetary reasons, why does that matter to a small streamer? I think that it goes down to the assumption, right? So if Twitch turns into this platform that all that's being seen is negative information, right? So like if Jimmy was streaming on World Star Hip Hop, and then all of a sudden all of his students found out about it, and they're like, oh shit, Jimmy streams on World Star Hip Hop. Do you know how bad that would look for Jimmy's image in real life? It would look terrible. So with Twitch making these decisions, right, that they're making, and it's not like this is necessarily going to happen, but for the security of the platform and being advertiser friendly and choosing to want to do things outside of streaming. So like if Ninja, right, he went on a bunch of different TV shows. He's trying to position himself as a celebrity in the gaming realm, right? Like Ellen knows who Ninja is, but doesn't know who Shroud is, or 99% of the other people that are more gamer oriented than Ninja. But because Ninja's the name in the industry, like if a bunch of negative shit came out about Twitch, and they talked about how Twitch is a breeding ground for pulling in, children to watch gaming content. And then all of a sudden these kids could, through hosts and through other aspects of the platform, could find themselves looking at borderline pornography and then be driven to pornographic websites based on the association from some of the streamers, right, who are oriented in that, world. Not saying that that's wrong, but that headline it could immediately kill Twitch. It could make it completely non-friendly.
I don't see it something like that. The shit like that is going to happen, and what you're talking about, while valid, I'm not saying that it's not. I just I see it every day being a teacher of teenagers.
Yeah.
The world, I mean, we have the news cycle goes so fast, and there's so much other shit that's out there. It would have to take something really, really bad. And even then, I don't see the only way Twitch loses its grip is it's going to be self-inflicted. It's not going to be by what some stupid kid does and clicks on a site and some Fox News article. I'm not saying what you're saying is invalid. I personally don't see it. I don't see it.
No, I agree with that. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but it's a very sensitive thing, right? It would take one article to start spinning shit out of control, right? But what I'm more concerned about, and it's not necessarily like if a parent found out about that, they wouldn't let their kid go on Twitch. But if Ninja family friendly is on Mixer, family friendly, there's no sexually oriented content that I know of on Mixer, which I'm sure you could probably find some. But if a parent has the choice of where they're going to allow their kid to go, they're not going to allow them to go to Twitch. And the bigger problem with it is it doesn't matter what the community thinks and what the average person thinks. As soon as the advertiser figures out about these little niche things, they're going to pull all. That's the exact same thing that happened with YouTube. They're going to pull all their advertisements from Twitch, and then Twitch in general already isn't advertiser friendly. That's why all the pre-rolls are the exact same. They don't have a very good algorithm for finding, like, for specific advertisements. You can't target a certain category. You can't do any of that on Twitch.
This is Jack Ryan all day.
Oh, it's just Jack fucking Ryan all fucking day long. But yeah, I think so. So to end this kind of this subject, I think if we're not looking at the monetary side of things, right? Because you were asking me, because they all are monetary reasons at the end of the day. But and I presented the idea that if Twitch was a little less family friendly in the eyes of the average person outside of the community, it may cause someone to choose Mixer over Twitch, right? Based on what they're seeing in headlines. But what I'm also, I guess what I would like to ask is, if outside of the monetary reasons, what would cause you to switch to a different platform?
Like I said before, the only reason why I would switch would be if I lost my viewership, and if I lost my viewership because and yeah, that's really the only thing I could think of. I'm not a Twitch fanboy, but all the friends I've made over the last several years and all the other stuff, I owe it all to Twitch, this hobby that I've learned so many different things about. I mean, I know Twitch doesn't owe me, and I don't owe Twitch, but I just like it. I like the platform with all its flaws and with all its problems. It's an amazing platform, and where else? I just can't imagine being on something different. And the only reason why is if I lost all my viewership. If I lost all my viewership, I may switch. Honestly, though, if I lost all my viewership, I probably wouldn't even be streaming it anymore anyway.
Yeah.
Right? I'd be like, well, that's
an overwhelming migration of people would cause, like, if a majority of the people that were watching Twitch all of a sudden just started watching Mixer, you would consider switching to Mixer. Because I'm the same way. I mean, we talked about this on like 2 podcasts ago. I said, as much as Twitch is a Wild West, I would prefer it a Wild West than something that's super controlled, right? And that had, I love this platform for what it is. It allows, as much as they're not immediate on fixing things, whether it be technical or political, they do, it is what it is, and we all love it for the community. I think that I'm the same way. I personally would only switch to another platform. The first thing immediately, and it's the reason that I'm here on Twitch in general, is the fact that people are here. If it, like, compare Vimeo to YouTube, Vimeo is a much better platform than YouTube, but everyone else is on, like, as far as your codec is concerned, your quality of video, just the features that they have on Vimeo, I prefer those. But people aren't watching Vimeo.
Right. And it's not just that people are here, it's that my people are here.
Right.
You okay, Jimmy?
It's doing the thing again.
God damn it. All right, give me a second.
I know.
It's doing a little bit of a Robin right there. But yeah, I think if a migration of like if people stop coming to Twitch, which I don't think is going to happen unless there's like competitor in the market. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. But if Twitch was dead at some point, which I'm not assuming like that's going to happen, that would be fucking insane to assume. But it was also assumed to say that MySpace wasn't going to be a thing. You know, like when MySpace was actually a thing, people didn't assume that it was going anywhere, and I don't think anyone really saw that was happening. So what I'm thinking, in my personal opinion, is if massive migration of people left Twitch, and the people that I really enjoyed in my community left Twitch, right? So if people stopped watching my stream because they weren't necessarily on the platform, it would influence me to want to change. I don't think that the monetary part of it. I think that the community of Twitch keeps me here, right? Like going back to the people, because just like I said, per capita, people are making more money streaming on Facebook than they are on Twitch. So if you want to be successful, if you want to make money, if your idea is to make money while streaming, do it on Facebook. Your chances of making it are much, 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 much higher. But I think that the other piece of it is, if I was a big streamer, something that I would, draw back on is if I'm streaming, let's just say I'm streaming 100 hours a week, right? Like a lot of big streamers tend to do. If I could switch to another platform and continue and make back half of that time without having to risk all of, everything else, and not have as much stress on me, and not have to upkeep all of the subscribers that I have and have to maintain numbers and hours. If I could maintain the same, I guess this comes back to money. If I could maintain the same amount of income and security, if I had a little bit more job security, if that's ultimately what it comes back to. So money at the end of the day. If I had a little bit more security and I had a little bit more time, that would be. But
that goes back to one of the original points that we started the podcast with, was after a certain amount of time of doing the podcast, I was able to produce the same exact content, even better content, with working less. So, and I'm not opposed to that. So
if I could work less and do the exact same, get the exact same amount of output, I would be excited to do it. I think the only other thing that would influence me if I was a big streamer, and I'm pretty sure this is something that you brought up, is if Microsoft or if whoever else could offer me a deal where they set me up in a studio to produce. It comes down to money again, obviously. But if I had more control on the platform, like if I switched to Mixer and they're like, hey, here's the phone number for the guy that can help you with all your partnership. If I had more contact, if they're like, every time that they're going to make a big change on the platform, if I had a say, or if they emailed me and asked me about my opinion, I think that would also, like, if I was more part of their community, their internal community, because I feel like a lot of people on Twitch feel like they're separated from Twitch itself as a company.
Yeah.
Right. If I felt more included, if it was more of an inclusive environment with the streamers and the decisions that were being made, I would feel like that would be another thing that could influence me. Or if it was someone like Amazon, right? If I was on D Live right now and Amazon's like, hey, we really want to get you on the platform. If they were like, hey, we have Amazon, TV. We'll produce a show for you, right? Which is different than the monetary side. Obviously, money can bring you anything that you really want. But if Amazon said, hey, with all of our connections, we're going to put together a show for you. You're going to come on and you're going to basically, you're going to do your show normally, but then we're going to have exclusive content that we're going to help you produce and put a series together. If there's something along those lines, like if I was at the scale of Shroud and he had a TV series with Amazon or whoever it is, I think that that's also a piece that could influence me. If they were willing to immediately help me produce my content, and not just like financially, if they gave me nothing, but they, provided feedback, or if they had a team helping me, obviously they're paying those people. So it's still monetary, but Twitch has all the money in the world with Amazon. They have all the money in the world, and they're not
and they're still not paying people to stay on the platform.
Yeah. So that's my end of my answer.
It's definitely like, I feel like we kind of scratched the surface on that conversation. It's something I definitely want to come back to eventually, or maybe even the next podcast. I think there's a lot to be said, and of course, this is 3 small to medium sized streamers talking about what multimillionaires are doing with their lives, and we obviously don't know all the ins and outs. But what I would like to see out of these people is, hey, a little bit more transparency. Like, these are some of the other reasons why making a switch like this. Like, don't you think a video of one of those guys going over all of the other reasons, or maybe even just some of the reasons over why switching platforms is beneficial, would be great and valuable for all the other people that are, further down the totem pole?
I think so. I think that Goliathan did that. I brought this up to Casey, right? And it was confusing to me too, because I'm like, why is it that the thing that's really throwing this off is and that makes this such an interesting topic is that both of the major streamers that have switched have done it in kind of the day of, or in the cover of night. You know what I mean? Have immediately switched, and the next day it's like they're off the platform. Right. I watched Shroud's last VOD back, and he didn't have any emotion regarding leaving, or didn't talk about it. He was just immediately on a different platform the next day. And Ninja ultimately did the exact same thing, right? But I think, and Casey, actually, I'm stealing Casey's answer, so that's good. I'll write a check and it'll be in the mail tomorrow. But the thing that she said is, I think that and I'm paraphrasing obviously because Casey's way more articulate than I am, but she said that I think that the reason that they're doing that is because if you could watch Shroud's last stream on Twitch, there'd be more people there than his next day on Mixer. Like, if you knew that Shroud wasn't going to be on Twitch, you'd be there for his last stream, and you'd be less likely, if you were there for his last stream on Twitch, you'd be less likely to watch him on Mixer. So for Mixer, it makes less sense to be that transparent of when these things are going to happen, because it's better for them, and from a viral side, to obtain people to gain the interest of people, right? Like look at Dr. Disrespect. Whenever he's banned, he comes back with 10 times the viewers, right?
Right.
So it's more interesting if you don't know when it's going to happen, or if it's something that you're anticipating. And on the other side, I was thinking about why they're not disclosing how much these guys are making in the deals, right? Because no one knows. No one really knows, except for the people that are involved in these transactions between Mixer and Twitch and these different individuals that are streamers, right? But I think that the other piece of it is the mystery of how much they're making also tends to maintain their evaluation as streamers, right? Like, we don't have an idea of how much Shroud made, so it makes it easier for other people to negotiate with those platforms when they're switching, right? And for Mixer, if they're like, hey, we signed $100 million deal with Ninja, then Shroud would be like, okay, well, based on the viewership and what we're bringing, I'm also worth $100 million. So for them, for Mixer, it would actually hurt them over the long period if their goal is to obtain more of these streamers to disclose the numbers, because people would base that off of the stream. Because ultimately, if Shroud went to him under the covers, went to Mixer under the covers of not understanding how much Ninja made, he might have made $100 million, but Shroud could only be asking for 20 million, right? Which is obviously going to save the platform a lot of money in the long run as they continue to acquire streamers. It just makes more sense that way.
Yeah.
Money. Look, I really do want to kind of dive into this topic a little bit more, and not to beat it, like a dead horse, but there's so many great other aspects to talk about when it comes to stuff like this. We'll just have to come back to it at another time.
100%. Yep.
All right, cool. Let us jump into the question and answer, and we're running about 2 hours now, so kind of be speedy with your responses because I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time. So first and foremost, I have the same file. I open it up in one app. It shows all of the answers, but not every single response. I open it up in another app. It shows parts of every response, but every response. I open it up in another app, and it shows everything that I want. So I'm sorry that this shit is so fucking broken. There's still not a good way to do exactly what I want to do for this podcast, and I'm sorry that it's so fucking broken all the time. So anyways, first question. This one comes from Snowguard. How hyped are you for Star Wars Fallen Order? And I know I got up and walked away when this subject came up, but
I'm pretty hyped. Just because I'm a Star whore, so I'm pretty hyped. We haven't had a good single player Star Wars game in a long time, so I'm hoping that it scratches that itch that I've really wanted to scratch. So I'm hoping we'll find out in less than 2 weeks. So one way or the other, I'm gonna play it. So
Bishy. Okay.
I don't know. I haven't really played Star Wars games in a really long time. I like the Lego ones, but that's about it.
Lego ones are fucking good.
They're so good. They're so good.
I try to not get hype over anything these days because every other thing is a fucking letdown, especially when it comes to video games. When it comes out, I'll play it, and if it's great, I'll jerk off to it, and that's just where I end it. I'm sick of like just building up this hype over and over and over and over again, and then the thing coming and it just not being great. I get my hopes up and then I get let down. So I'm hyped. I'm excited. Star Wars single player game, modern day graphics. I'm fucking pumped. But I'm not just gonna spend like every waking moment getting super, super excited over it because you never fucking know.
Like I feel like you too. I'm super excited about it, but I'm not, I hadn't pre-ordered it or anything like that. Because I generally don't pre-order games. I know. Give me that. Yeah. But it's cool. It's cool to feel it. It sucks to be disappointed, but it's kind of exciting to have stuff to look forward to and get excited about it. So, that's the part of me I love Star Wars, man, so much that anytime there's something new coming out, I'm like, yeah,
it's good to have something.
Like it's one of the few things that take me back to being a kid.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why for me.
And unfortunately, it's during No Nut November.
Damn it.
Next question from Rebel Ruby. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Also, what are the best toppings?
God damn.
Pineapple and pepperoni are just, you can't beat them together at the same time. I'm a pineapple on pizza kind of guy.
I am not a pineapple on pizza, but my wife is, so I will get it and just take it off and let her have the pineapples. So it doesn't trigger me or anything like any. But I've eaten it. It's just not my favorite. I'm all about classic pepperoni or meat lovers, but I do meat lovers without the Canadian bacon. I'm not a huge fan, and I just do double regular bacon.
Pineapple on pizza is not the problem. Chicago deep dish style pizza is the problem. Okay, let's just get that right out. We just to straighten this shit out. It's not the toppings of the pizza. It's Chicago style. Needs to fuck right off and suck my ass. That's what I think.
Thin crust or hand tossed is definitely the way to go. Although I will say this, I'm not a fan of that type of pizza either, the Chicago deep dish style. But I have had a good one. The problem is I've had way more not good ones than I've had good ones of that style. But I have had a really good Chicago style pizza that was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But for every one good one I've had way more not so good.
That's a really good point.
Here's my point when it comes to pineapple on pizza. How many polls on Twitter have you seen about people asking whether putting cheese inside crust is a good or bad idea? Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. 0. Okay. How many polls on Twitter have you seen about whether it's okay or not to put sesame seeds on crust? How many polls on Twitter have you seen about people putting ranch on their pizza?
Maybe several.
Shit.
Maybe one or two.
Hi, Kitty.
Yeah. I've seen a few of those.
Okay. So why we draw this line of outrage at pineapple just drives me fucking insane. Like, no, you can't like that certain thing. Pineapples, it's weird. It's not like we're putting fucking I don't know, like caviar, like
or anchovies. Like,
right.
I think the thing is because it's almost become a meme in itself. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
It's become, everybody knows that there's this contention of people who like it and don't like it, and so that's why it's become a thing. I don't really think that many people dislike it. I think it's just it's just one of those things, like poking the bear. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get a reaction out of people if you talk about it.
It's like there's so many other ridiculous things that have happened to pizza. We don't talk about any of them. For some reason, we talk about this fruit, which 90% of the fucking world actually enjoys, but it's not allowed to be on this certain thing.
I think it's like the fundamental, right, of this whole question in general is that And this is why you don't hear this about any other type of food. It's always pineapple on pizza. You never hear it about any other category. It's because people share pizzas. And I think that the problem stems from the idea that when you and your buddies are sitting and watching a football game and you say, hey, what type of pizza are we ordering? You have two options. You get two pizzas, or you get, let's say you're ordering one single pizza. That's not even an option. One single pizza. You have two options. You either get it with one category of toppings, or you split it down the middle and you get shit on both sides. In most cases, people don't like it. If you have a room of 5 people, maybe 2 or 3 people like pineapple on their pizza. So it's immediately a decisive, like, oh, fuck it. I don't want to order pizza now because you want pineapple on your half, bitch. I personally like pineapple on my pizza. It's sweet. It cuts through the fat. It just tastes good, right? As far as like from a food tasting standpoint, it's a nice little piece of sweet in something that's really savory. Now, what I will say is I've only heard one good argument. Everyone's always triggered about this fucking point and like, I don't like pineapple because I couldn't order my cheese pizza. Someone wanted a ham on the other side. Like, this is bullshit. So what it comes down to for me is one simple argument that works, and that I'm like, you know what? I agree with you. Someone said to me that they didn't like hot fruit.
My wife doesn't. She won't eat pies. She doesn't like hot fruit.
That's fair.
She doesn't like apple pie. She doesn't like cherry pie. She will not eat any sort of fruit pie because she doesn't like the way hot fruit tastes. But ironically, she likes pineapple on pizza. Don't go fucking figure.
Here's my main rebuttal is I guarantee 9 times out of 10, you meet somebody that says pineapple on pizza is disgusting. Ask them what type of Chinese food they like. And if they say some bullshit like General Tso's chicken, which isn't even fucking Chinese food, or you ask them what kind of Mexican they like, and they say motherfucking Crunchwrap Supreme, just I guarantee that their food morals do not hold up for the rest of their palate. So that's why I just usually just throw that right out of the fucking door.
Yep.
Anyways, now that I'm angry, I'm sweating. Next question from Conbot. Who would honestly win in a fight, me or Howie? Fighting dirty is allowed, no weapons, though.
That's a good question.
Howie. I think Howie would go straight for your eyes and your penis. I think both at the same time, and then he'd replace the two. I think Howie is a lot more disrespectful and scrappy when he fights. I think he would go straight for the penis.
I don't know. I'm gonna flip this one, and I'm gonna say Knackers would win in a fight. I feel like he's the gentle. And Knackers is actually pretty big guy. I mean, he's not huge, but he's got a little thickness to him. I think. What are you, about 6 feet, 6'1"?
6'1". Yep.
Yeah. So he's a pretty big dude. He's got a little heft to him. I think if Knackers, he's one of those guys that. He's not a fighter type of person by natural prerogative, but if he gets in a corner, he's gonna come out swinging, man. I could see that him just going rage like a bull in a china shop and just fucking start punching and just like tears streaming down his face like a Christmas Story, like Ralphie beats up the bully. Like I can see like I hate to do this, but I've got to kick your ass.
I'm like Vin Diesel from the first Fast and the Furious. I just like somebody kills my dad and I just beat you to death with a fucking wrench.
Do you know how I know that isn't necessarily how Knackers is because Knackers grew up with a brother. And that's not necessarily how brothers turn out. They usually beat the shit out of each other once or twice, too many times, and they learn how to defend themselves through the motions of it. So I think now I'm gonna redact my initial answer. Fuck you, Howie. I think that Knackers could win in the fight. It's Howie, an only child.
I wasn't even an option in this question.
What?
Who would win in a fight, me or Howie? As in them fighting each other. I was not even a part of this question.
Oh, you weren't?
No.
Oh, Wally versus Howie?
Howie versus Conbot.
I thought it was versus Knackers. Howie versus Conbot? Let me think.
Oh my god.
I think I'm gonna go with Conbot, because Conbot's a drummer, and that means he has fast hands. So which means he could probably do a lot of punching really fast. I think drummers probably could punch out people pretty fast. So I'm gonna go Conbot.
I don't know. On this one, I actually don't know. I think that it comes down to the fact that Conbot plays GeoGuessr because he would find Howie before Howie even knows what's happening. Therefore, Conbot would have the advantage and attack him like a wild chupacabra from behind. I think that's the true answer.
I think you might be right. How why did I hear that as between?
I heard the same thing. Maybe Knackers is an idiot. Maybe we go back in the.
I think we're gonna have to go back and listen to it because I swear to God, he said between Knackers,
me versus
Howie.
Knackers. Maybe he said me versus. He read it me versus Howie.
He read. Okay, chat's saying we're wrong. So
what? But chat is fucking Wally Treats, who is basically Howie.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
collusion.
I don't know. Yeah.
Collusion.
Okay, so we were wrong. I guess we wanted to hear that someone wanted to fight Knackers, and maybe we heard that in our brain, even though that's not what our ears heard.
You know what, Jimmy? I say fuck him, dude. We heard what we heard. I say fuck him.
Next question.
I have a lot of confidence in my adrenaline. I've never actually been in a fight before, but I think about killing people all the time. So,
well, you're halfway there then.
Actually, you know what? To your point, Bishop, me and my brother only got into one physical altercation, I think, growing up, and it was over a hoodie.
Oh shit! No way.
He had a hoodie that I really liked wearing.
Knowing your brother, he doesn't seem to me like the guy that really wants to fight.
Oh, he's a pussy. He's the biggest pussy. Sorry, robot. All right, next question. This one comes from M. Johnson, and I don't understand this question. So, M. Johnson, you might have to retype in chat. Has anyone really been far even as decided to use even go want to do look more like?
Yeah, I really think so.
Okay.
Most recently, about 3 months ago. So, yeah.
Next question from Hellhound. Why is Chair Stream best stream?
It's the absence of the streamer that makes you want the streamer more.
That's a great answer.
I'm just going to say what he said.
Okay. I try not to do too many chair streams. I used to have Be Right Back videos that I put up all the time, but I haven't exactly moved those into the correct place ever since reformatting my streaming PC OS. So I've had quite a few chair streams recently. And
I have not had many because I always have BRB videos pretty much. If it is, it's because I'm going to be back in less than a minute. So
okay. Next question from Rebel Ruby. Have you ever returned to a game you very much enjoyed after some time has passed to find that it really isn't all that good and your fond memories are just nostalgia? What game was it and why did you love it at the time?
Bubsy the Bobcat for Super Nintendo. I loved it at the time because it was a new game. I think I got it when I was like, I don't know, maybe 12 years old. And I didn't get a lot of new games. So, and I enjoyed playing it with my sister because that was a game that she would actually enjoy playing with me or hang out with me while I played. My younger sister. But I went back and played it on a retro stream like a year or so ago and was like, oh my God, this fucking game sucks. I mean, it's a terrible platformer, shitty controls. It was certainly like playing through it again and made me realize, man, it was actually a really shitty game. But, you know, I played it at the time again because you play what you have when you were a kid. So, yes, I totally. And there's more, but that's probably the one that comes to mind immediately would be that game.
I recently, having rekindled my love with World of Warcraft Classic. It's not my answer, by the way. I love that game to death. But I also, because I thought about the time and what was going on around that specific period. And I was like, oh my fucking God, I completely forgot about Habbo Hotel. And I was like, I used to play that all the time. I used to sit in like chat rooms and just jump around and do the fucking stupid dance and shit. I used to be HQ member. I was like, I remember it fondly. I was like, God, that was really cool. And then I looked at some advertisements and stuff like that. And I did a little research recently, like honestly, within the past few days and maybe a week. And it turns out it was just a massive scam to get kids to buy the credits in the game. It's like the biggest fucking loophole of scamming the shit out of kids. Apparently there was like hundreds of parents that went into debt because you could call into Habbo and buy credits from the phone, and they would charge the phone company, and they just sell you bullshit. And there's a really interesting video on YouTube that I found that was basically describing why Habbo was such a shithole and why it was a great game, but it was built to basically force kids into figuring out how to gamble and do all this very unethical stuff, right? And with microtransactions up the ass.
Interesting.
So that was ruined for me recently.
Okay. I don't have anything recent that came to mind, and only the OGs of gaming will know what I'm talking about. Does anybody remember the game The Incredible Machine?
Mm-hmm.
It was a game where you basically had like a grid and you had to place items in order to complete the task. So like there would be a basketball in the top left-hand corner, and you had to get it in a trash can in the bottom right-hand corner. So you had to use like a Hot Wheels slide and then a fan and a dolly and a crane and a fucking trebuchet. And you had to place the items that it gave you in order to get said basketball to the end. I don't know if it was a basketball, but yeah, that game, I remember trying to play that recently. Not recently, but in the last 5 years. I was like, man, this game's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I did not have any fun. Next question from Paul. When should Christmas music be played in public?
After Thanksgiving.
I'm going to have to agree with that. I think anything before Thanksgiving is premature at best. I think that people that take down their Halloween decorations and immediately put up Christmas decorations need serious help. I think they need to be put in prison.
We actually have a rule about it in our house because my son and I love Christmas music. Like, we love it. Like, we
Really?
just, I don't know. We're very festive.
Yeah.
But my wife, she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
So we actually have a rule, like, we can't play Christmas music in the car until after Thanksgiving.
Really?
So, yes. That's a family rule that we have. We don't have many of them. That's one of them, ironically.
I mean, there's 11 songs, right?
Hard and
Yeah, there's
fast
11
rule,
songs that are written by or sung by 50 different people, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, how much can you listen to in 30 days?
I mean, I happen to be the Christmas music that I like the most is instrumental stuff. Like, I prefer the non, like, I don't know, just I like Mannheim Steamroller stuff. You know what I mean? I really like the instrumental stuff.
That's a sex move.
It is. It's also a sex move. But I mean, I don't know, man. I like Christmas music. It's like a guilty pleasure. You know, like some people like those shitty like movies, like the shitty smutty
Casey loves that shit. Yeah.
like Hallmark Channel movies and shit like that. Not just at Christmas time, like year round, you know, like all those different shitty shows.
National Lampoon.
You know, yeah, but I'm just saying, everybody, that's my vice, man. Christmas music is my vice, and I have to put a cap on it, man. I won't listen to it until after Thanksgiving because I don't want. I love my wife, and I wouldn't want to, damage our relationship.
Right.
In my living room, every corner where wall meets wall and wall meets ceiling, there is a string of Christmas lights that have been there for the past 2 years, anywhere from 2 to 3 years. I love Christmas lights. I don't get angry because of what other people like. So I don't fucking care when Christmas music is played. I don't understand the anger behind it because it doesn't bug me. Again, it's like the whole thing with like pineapple on pizza, right?
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about any other music. Like Halloween music? There's not really Thanksgiving music, right?
Yeah.
But there's just something about Christmas music where everybody just loves to shit on it, and I just don't necessarily care.
I think it's because there's, like you said, there's only a handful of songs, and so it kind of can get really repetitive.
Right.
Which is also one of the reasons why I like the instrumental stuff, because to me that doesn't really sound as repetitive.
That's fair.
But
There was
that may be why.
There was a study that apparently Christmas music playing in stores, the reason that they play it so early, and this is like a breakdown that I'm sure was done by BuzzFeed or some bullshit, but potentially the Christmas music influences consumers to buy more.
Oh, absolutely. I don't doubt that at all.
Yes,
and I would
that's why
say,
the decorations go up earlier and earlier every year because people are like, oh, it's time for Christmas shopping.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Brother.
Are you saying that the motivation is money?
oh fuck this shit, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Starting to notice a trend here on Crocs and Hot Pockets.
I went to a different store because they had they didn't play their Christmas music yet. You know?
Fair. Speaking of money, if you guys could go to onlyfans.com/Crocs and Hot Pockets, we could really use just a couple more subscribers. Next question. This one comes from Rebel Ruby. Can you think of any games that you love that would be improved by adding co-op?
Coop.
She adding a coop.
Yeah,
Add a
by
coop
adding a
to it.
chicken coop. You see, she's been playing a lot of Stardew Valley, and she's really enjoying the integrated chickens gameplay. So that's exactly what she's talking about. Co-op. You guys go first.
Co-op.
I can't think of one.
Game that I like would add co-op would make
Oh,
it better.
I have one.
So-
Any of the Elder Scrolls games.
Fuck! You stole my
Fuck
shit!
you! I
God
fucking
damn
knew
it!
Oh,
That would
I
be
think-
cool, man. Yeah.
Fallout
Yeah.
without going down the 76 route, just being able to fucking hop into the game. Don't fuck it up. Don't fucking put in all this other bullshit. Just let me play on the storyline with a homie. You know, any game that I feel lonely while playing, I'm sure you guys have a couple of those where you're just like, "Ooh, I need friends. You know,
Okay.
anything like that.
You got one, Jimmy?
You know how much fun it would be to play a Witcher game multiplayer where like one of you was Geralt and then the other one was like Ciri or somebody,
And you
or
could fuck.
well, I mean, I guess that'd be cool too. But that'd be weird if they did because for reasons. But
Oh.
yeah, I mean that'd be so cool.
Incest
be,
porn is all the rage nowadays.
Oh yeah.
I think any game that you have a massive time investment in, right? Like Stardew Valley, Graveyard Keeper, any of those games that you spend time doing something for a long period of time, just to have someone, available,
Multiplayer
Like,
FTL. Oh my god.
oh,
that'd be-
right.
Yeah.
Okay, go
So-
ahead, Knackers.
A game that I've never played, but for some reason just popped up into my head. What about Just Cause? Being able to co-op that with somebody else.
They have a multiplayer mod, but it's absolute shit. But that's
Okay.
I think co-op insinuates that it's not like this massively multiplayer 40-man thing. It's just like hop into the game with the other person, kind of like Borderlands, like join into the game. I think Just Cause would be amazing. Imagine like grappling each other and flying through the air.
Right.
And
I want single player quests with a
Yes.
friend, with a butt buddy.
yeah,
Now,
they
I
should
wanna-
just add that for every game. Just let me have my friend enter the game, or even split screen option.
Mhm.
Remember how many games back in the day used to have split screen? I feel like it's completely dead now.
Oh, absolutely. Who wants to sit next to a friend?
Dude, I
Yeah.
just thought of another really good one.
Say it.
Did you ever play any of the Batman like Arkham Knight, like Arkham City?
I
Can you
haven't
imagine
yet.
Dude, can you imagine playing that type of game with like one of you's Batman, the other's Robin? How fucking fun that would be! Oh god, that'd be
Have so
cool,
much
man.
sex. Oh fuck
Yes, lots of sex.
I'm taking like a quick look through my Steam library, and I know that there is one out there. I think a Grand Theft Auto
Kerbal.
campaign.
Yeah, Kerbal Space Program would be a fantastic. I think any like creative building game that like The Sims, great game, would be fantastic with co-op.
There used to be a Sims split screen co-op for the Xbox. I don't remember which one it was.
I think they had it for GameCube also.
That shit
had
was
Sims on
fun.
there. Yeah, you
Fucking
could play
sick.
co-op Sims. Yeah.
Why don't they have more co-op? Come on, developers! I know you
Because
guys listen.
money. Because money. Again.
Because monetary reasons. God.
One of my main gripes with the Switch is the lack of story-based co-op games currently. And I know there's a few good ones, but like I want to be able to sit next to my girlfriend with our Switches, or for us both to be capture card switched on our computers and play games together. But there's not too many options out there.
Yeah.
Final question. This one comes from Rebel Ruby. For Jimmy, what is the best beer experience you've ever had? Be it just the best brew or the best brewery?
I think the best beer experience I've ever had, and if you guys ever come visit me in Texas, I'll say brewery, because I've had a lot of. I can't single it down to best brew because I've had so many good ones. But the best brewery experience, there's a place in Texas called the Jester King Brewery. And you know about Jester King because I've brought you some of those. Like they have the, like the sour stouts, the shit. They have their own crazy blends of stuff that they do. And this is the coolest brewery ever. It's in the middle of the countryside, several acres. There's tons of different places to drink, and they don't just sell their own stuff. They also have a lot of great breweries from other places that they bring in. They have a bottle shop there. They've got a farmhouse pizza place that has the most amazing pizza that you can buy when you're out there. There's lots of, it's just beautiful. Tons of places to sit and hang out and chill. It's dog friendly. It's kid friendly. It's just a really fucking cool place. And
this is ASMR to me right now. Just listening.
Anytime I go there, I always leave with a huge smile on my face. So if you ever come down here, I will for sure take you guys out there because it's an amazing place. I've probably been to it about 6 or 7 times, and I always have a blast every time I go. So
it's all about when we come down, Jimbo.
All right. When you come down, I will for sure take you guys. No doubt.
Word. Well, with the end of the Q&A, that is unfortunately the end of the podcast. Now, we went for a pretty long, our intro, I think, was about 20 minutes. So the podcast was about 2:30. If we didn't have responsibilities tomorrow, I could have kept going and go. I feel like a snake Pokemon used Constrict on me tonight because there were so many things that I wanted to talk about and so many more. Like I wanted to go so much deeper into so many topics, but we have to cap it at some point. And on one hand, it makes the podcast awesome, but on the other hand, I'm like, man, I wish we had like 5 more hours to talk about some stuff. But anybody that comes through and hangs out for the duration of the podcast, and if you are listening to this in the future, I really appreciate you guys checking this out, and I hope it was a good listen for you. So that is going to end our podcast for the night. What we're going to do, because we actually completely skipped over like 80% of the normal intro, which I was totally fine with. But during our outro, I want to go around the room. You guys can say what your social media is, what kind of stuff you have coming up, and we'll close this down.
Ladies first, Jimmy.
No,
wrong. You're first. You're first. On the script first.
Yeah,
Boomers first. You can follow me on Twitter at BishopWasHere. I stream on Twitch. I haven't been streaming recently, like I've said before, but I'll probably come back after I'm finished with this project. So within the next few days at twitch.tv/BishopGP. If you have any topics or anything like that, just hit any one of us up on Twitter. If you want to follow up with anything that we're talking about, I know that we didn't get a deep dive into stuff, but if we go back and talk about, because these things are going to continue to evolve. The last person to leave Twitch wasn't Shroud, and it's not going to be Shroud. There's going to be more, so it's going to be an ongoing conversation. And shoot us a tweet or let us know if you have any suggestions.
To that point, there is a channel in Discord called Podcast Reply where you as a community member can reply to any of the topics that we talked about tonight. In addition to that, there is an email, podcast@knackers.com, where you can send any feedback, any perspective, any questions. You're more than welcome to use any of those.
My name is Jimmy, a.k.a. MiddleAgedStream. You can find me on Twitch and Instagram at MiddleAgedStream, MiddleAgedStream on Twitter. I gotta be back streaming on Wednesday and Saturday again. That's my normal schedule. And then when football season ends, high school football season ends for me, I'll be able to maybe get a third day in a week here and there, which I'm excited about having some time back. So you guys will probably be seeing more of me, whether you want to or not, but I will be around.
I want.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Knackers. You guys can find me on this very channel or on Twitter and Instagram at Knackers with 3 A's. I also do another podcast called Audio Snack that I publish on Anchor. That can also be found on whatever podcast platform you prefer. I am supposed to be getting back to Dark Souls soon. I'm probably not done with the Fortnite needle in my arm, so there will probably be a couple more Fortnite streams here and there. Dark Souls is supposed to be what we're going back to, but you know what? We'll fucking see what happens, okay? Thank you guys so much for hanging out during the podcast. We had an absolute blast. We will be back next week for episode 110. But until then, we really appreciate you all coming through. And We will see you next time.